All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the All-Star race for the Chris Cup, and it's time to see all the Chris's and Christophers and any other Chris's that are out there for them to show off all their paint schemes and to show off their skills here at Charlotte. Today with me, I've got Bronson Stafford. And Bronson, how are you feeling about this All-Star race?
Oh, I love all-star races. No points on the line, typically for most leagues, and you just kind of get to go out and have some fun and quick, short races. This one only 80 laps. You get a pit stop in there, so goes green. You get a green flag stop, and you can really just show off who's really good with a full run of tire saving and some green flag stops.
Yeah, we really get to see what the tires are going to be like as the drivers. We saw them racing last week, and we get to see, well, they're going to be racing this week. They got a week to prepare for this all-star race, and it's going to be a good one to watch. As the drivers are now starting to hit the grid and get prepared to race. We're going to have 17 drivers for today's race, and we're going to have an actual duel tonight, 2 80-lap races, and we'll get down to the rules and how it's all going to be set up later on in the race. And as the drivers are getting set up with the grid, we're actually going to do a rundown of who got the pole. Bronson, you got it?
Yeah, out on the starting first here tonight on the pole is the 25 of Christopher Tate. Alongside is going to be Christopher Morris. Chris Bass takes third. Christopher Takis in fourth in the 46. The 14 of Christian Roos starts fifth. Sixth place is Larry Murphy. Seventh, Chris Hubka. Alongside him in the 35, Christopher Ritchie. Ninth position, Chris Robert. And right at the top 10, Christopher Reese. 11th position, you have the 17 of Chris Nobley. And 12th of Chris Schalick. 13th of 48 in a Chris's car, you have Chris Jonathan Leach. 14th, Christopher Papa. 15th, Chris Sommers. 16th, Chris Jones, who, from my knowledge, actually does a lot of the paint schemes for this league, and, you know, that's a lot of fun. They're all really nice-looking paint schemes with the typical sponsors being replaced by Chris as a fun little thing they do for this league, and huge shout-out to him. He does really good work. 17th, and our final timed qualifier is Chris Corriveau. Corrival? I'm sure you know that name a bit better than I do, Sam. And then I'm not sure about 18th and 19th. They have not gridded, but it's Christopher King and Chris Newman.
Yeah, I don't think that those two are going to be making the race. It looks like we're only going to have 17 drivers for this thing, and they're now getting out there for pacing. I'm excited for this race. 80 laps, both races. We're going to see 160 laps of racing here at Charlotte. It's going to be a fun one to watch. These drivers are now getting ready to go. Last week, we got to see Christopher Morris being one of the fastest drivers out there. He's starting on the front row, and he's a car to watch out for. And we saw him running the 6 machine last week. He's running the 3 of the Chris Wrench. So a little bit of homage to Dale Earnhardt and that 3 machine back in the day. As the drivers are now coming down the back stretch. Bronson, I think we were talking about fuel and tire strategies. It's going to be 80 laps, and I think these drivers we saw last week push it from around 42 to about 52 laps was as far as we saw the drivers pushing their cars. So imagine they're going to split it right down the middle with these pit stops.
Yeah, you get about 50 to 60 laps on fuel, but it's an 80-lap race, so you might as well just pit after lap 40, cut it in half, go from there. There's a little bit of strategy you can do from there, but typically I think you'll see most of them just cut it in half if it goes green the whole way.
Well, it's going to be Christopher Tate as your pole sitter in that national Chris car, and for all you Chris's, Christophers, and Christinas out there, it's time to go green here in the first duel of tonight's races.
Yeah, green flag's out, and you can see Christopher Tate gets a decent jump, but Christopher Morris is able to stay to his outside. Not sure how well the outside's going to be, as you already see. Who was that? Christopher Takis, I think, jumped down to the low line to try and get underneath Christopher Morris, and he's fallen back already.
Yeah, you want to be on the inside. That's where the strongest place to be. And Takis and Morris were the two strongest cars last week. But Chris Bass was the one that was able to save his tires and really make these late runs. Christopher Tate up front, leading lap number 1. And this is not where he was at last race. Last time we were here, last week, Christopher Tate was running all the way in the back, had issues early on, but now showing that he's got the pace to be up front and challenging up front and leading the first lap, and probably going to be leading up front for a while.
Oh, you already see someone slow on the back straightaway there. That's the 90 of Chris Newman, who actually did make the race, but he's just getting up to speed. Started from the pit lane, 1 lap down. Just needs a quick caution, and he'll be good to go.
Well, it looks like Chris Bass about to make a pass on the bottom, but he's just not able to make it there off of turn number 4, but still side-by-side action here into turn number 1.
Yeah, Chris Bass drove in really hard to stay alongside, but I think you're going to see the high side get a run there with Christopher Tate in the 25. They're just about able to stay inside. He's still there just a little bit, almost 3 wide into turn 3, but Christopher Tate's going to...
Oh, we saw this little bit of dragging.
Big contact.
Oh no, and the 30's also involved, and they're still spinning all around. As it looks like Morris was the one that got through, Richie as well, but big spinners up front, Christopher Tate and also Chris Bass were the ones that got involved, and we were seeing it on our screen as the drivers getting extremely close to one another. We're going to take a quick replay on this. But Bass getting right close to that corner panel. Just going to say he's got to be careful there. And around they went. Bass just getting a little bit too close to that rear left quarter panel, and around we saw that 25 go.
I have some bad news there, Sam. You're saying how you thought the 3 of Christopher Morris got through. He actually got tagged in the back end, and his left rear clipped the pit road barrels, and his entire rear bumper is gone.
And we're going to be taking a look also at the 3 machine of Morris, who was the other car up front, who was trying not to get involved, running in third, thought he was safe, and was just not able to be safe. He's still running up front, as drivers are having pit stops at the moment as we're looking at replays. Yeah, you see the 3 car get hit, taps it, and the back end just gets ripped apart. Takis also involved, wasn't able to be scot-free, and it looks like, as we're going to be coming back to our live screen, looks like Summer was the one that stayed out, trying to be a car that's different.
It's early. I don't think that's going to hurt him too bad. The sun's starting to set, so the track's cooling down. It's not too hot. Only a couple laps on tires. That might be a good call. Get some track position and maybe get a couple other cautions here at some point and be able to hold on to it and pit with everyone else. But, you know, it's an all-star race. You got to do something a little different sometimes, and he's the first one to do it.
Chris Summers running that Chris Kyle Hospital machine, and the 43 car doing a little bit of strategy, and looks like also the 24 machine staying out.
No, he did pit, but I think he only did 2 tires.
Only did 2 tires, so
no, he missed his pit box, actually. I just went back and watched it. He drove straight through pit road and missed his pit box.
So out of all the cars that have pitted and got through, the 35 machine and that Chris 35 car able to make it cleanly through all the traffic. And, you know, a lot of machines involved in that one. We're looking from about 12th on, actually I take that back. It looks like from 10th on back. So about 8 cars in total involved in that first incident. And that's just a lot of good machines tore up and trying to maybe get their cars fixed up. As we're under our first caution, just want to give a little bit of breakdown as these cars are still getting hits done, as back in 8th place we're seeing other cars getting work done. So this is two-car duel as the 35 just went into the wall, I think.
He did. He just drifted up too high, maybe wasn't paying attention, and yeah, he just smacked the wall entering turn 1, and I think he's got some right front damage now. He does. It's crinkled up pretty good. That's interesting.
You don't expect to see these cars have type of issues like that, but that's just a mental error, or maybe an issue on technology-wise. I don't know. That is a weird situation to see for these drivers.
Yeah, that almost looks like it could have been a quick loss of force feedback, as I know that's something that happens. It sometimes just makes the car want to shoot straight or shoot a certain direction. But if it really was just a user error, that's some good right front damage, and I'm sure he'll be beating himself up about that one because he's sitting second, first one off of pit road, and you know that much damage can really hurt the aerodynamics of these cars.
And it really can, as the 35 now gonna pull his car into the pits and get that car fixed up. With 35 coming down, now our top 5 has changed once again. As up in the top 5, we've got Chris Summers in first, Chris Hupka, and then we got Chris Rudberg. Excuse me if I messed up that. I'm gonna butcher a lot of names. It's only my second time commentating with the Chris Cup, but it's a fun event here. Also, we got Chris Leach in fourth, and Christian Roos in fifth. So our top 5 really has changed up drastically since the drop of the green, as I don't think anyone that started in the top 5 are still up in the top 5 of this race.
Yeah, the only one actually there is Christian Roos, who started 5th and is running 5th. Everyone else started 7th, 9th, 15th, and 13th. So that quick early wreck definitely took out the guys that were starting all up front, and they're pretty much running 10th or worse now.
One car that was happy to see that caution and is running back in 8th. It's going to be that 90 machine, able to get the lucky dog and back up on the lead pack, and all in 8th, still has a chance to finish in the top 5 and honestly probably finish up front.
Yeah, it's still early. You still got over 70 laps to go. You got your lap back nice and quick, and from here on you can just race it to the end.
Looks like we've got a total of 15 cars still on track, so a lot of machines able to get their cars fixed up, but 3 machines still on pit road as pace car rolls off. We're going to be going green with believe it's going to be the 43 and the 5 car. Who's going to get the launch off? The 5 machine, a little bit ahead of our leader, but 43 able to cross the line first.
Yeah, you can see the 5 had to wait and check up for the 43. Just got a little bit too quick on the gas, and it's going to let Chris Sommers clear through easily, and Chris Roberg, who's now going for the lead, and frankly, probably one of my favorite paint schemes, Sam, and I think you'll agree, the Chrissy D car.
The Chrissy D car, it's refreshing. Always grab yourself a Chrissy D. It's going to be one of the sweetest things for you. And got to give a great shout out to that 98 car with the power move on the outside, able to get that run. But we're seeing the power of fresh tires to old. This 43 car was the only one that did not pit, and not really able to hold off for the lead, but still able to challenge, still right there. I mean, are you surprised by the 5 lap old tires still staying strong up front?
Not too much with a track like Charlotte. I think if it was a place like Atlanta or Darlington, he'd struggle more. But a track like Charlotte, you can get away with maybe even 10 laps on the tires. You maybe won't be able to hold the lead, but you'll be able to kind of hold off in the corner and use the draft on the straightaway. So it'll be interesting to see if he does fall back too far. I think once he loses a couple more spots, he'll have a harder time trying to stay up there. But if he stays in the top 3, I think he'll be all right.
Top 3, all Chris's, and you got to wonder, now it's top 4, all Chris's. The only Christopher up front in the top 5 is going to be Christopher Morris in that 3 machine, waiting to make a move, but the power of the Chris up front in the top 4.
Yeah, that 3 machine of Christopher Morris actually still does not have a rear end, and that car is still driving really well, surprisingly. And he got lucky with that one, because normally if you lose a piece of a bumper, the car struggles a little bit, but here he is making some passes and holding on. He's up to 4th.
Yeah, I mean, the back bumper going to be something to worry about, but due to the fact that he ripped off the back bumper and does it look like it has affected the spoiler at all? Because it feels like if the spoiler is affected, then there's going to be a lot more aero issues for that 3 machine.
Yeah, he got really lucky with the way it hit off the tires, off of the pit barrel, sorry. It just kind of ripped the bumper without damaging or bending anything.
Oh, no! That's going to be a lot more damage than you don't want to see.
Oh, is he going to save it? No, he comes back down. Oh,
no!
Oh,
another huge wreck of multiple machines, and 12 laps in, another big one. We're going to take a look to see how that 3 machine got spun around. He almost saved it, but just wasn't able to. I mean, it was entering turn number 1 in the middle of 2, and it just looks like Summers getting into the apron just a little bit, helped him drift up, and they almost got it saved, and then they made contact on the apron and launched both machines, the 43 and the 3, up into the crowded traffic on track, and you just have nowhere to go once that happens.
Yeah, they had it saved the one time after initial contact, but they came back together and down the apron, and 43 had it saved. The 3 was still spinning, just bounced off the right rear. And yeah, at that point, when you get shot up the racetrack, there's really nothing you can do if you're one of these guys back here. And it's just hopefully you pick the right lane to avoid. But as you can see, unfortunately for the 7 car of Chris Corvo, he tried to go high, and as he did, the 43 shot up the track and absolutely demolished him. And then the 24 ran into him, and it's just another big wreck, unfortunately, right off of turn 2 on lap 12.
Yeah, just take a look at it, and you're going to see the 14 car just get by, and just chaos ensue. The 35 machine also got a little bit of contact, and now you got to wonder how many cars actually have a clean machine out there and who's going to be left alive, as we're only 14 laps into this race.
Yeah, there's even our leader, actually. I looked at the 98 just as he's coming down pit road there. He has left rear damage. I'm not sure even where that came from, probably just avoiding the first wreck, but everyone came down pit road, and only 4 cars have left pit road, Sam.
You know, what's funny is the car that decided to come out, but after everyone else starting on the pits, Chris Newman might have been the smartest driver, as he is the only one that looks like he's got a clean machine, because he's been away from all the damage and all the chaos. So that 90 machine looking the cleanest so far, and might be the car to watch out for, as everyone else is so much damage.
I think he knew something we didn't. I think he knew the race was going to be carnage, and he just decided to start on pit road, whether he accidentally missed it or not. It's really worked out for him in the 90 in that 90 car in the Chris Tool Sports. That's funny. I like that. A nice little ploy on Barstool, and yeah, he's the leader. Has a really clean car. I think one of maybe 2 or 3 that are clean, and it's worked out for him.
Well, Morse is pulling his car in, which is going to be giving Roberg back into that second position. And we're taking a look at this 98 machine, and he is riddled all on that left side. It's all scraped up. I could only imagine what the right side looks like at the moment. So we're also going to take a look at the 14 machine that was one of the machines that was able to just graze by that last accident. That 14 machine might be one of the only ones as well that doesn't have too much damage, as well as the 5 and the 48. So this car's looking clean and trying to stay as clean as possible, but not everyone is fresh as that 90 machine and the Crystals 90.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the field. The 5 of Chris Hubka has pretty much a perfectly clean car. I don't see any visible denting, and the 48 of Chris Jonathan Leach has a clean car as well. Everyone else has something pushed in on one of the rear ends or on the front end, or just it's not too bad for the 14 and the 98 though. I'm sure that damage really won't affect them. The spoiler's still straight, so they're good to go. But yeah, I think there's only 3 cars left that currently do not have damage.
Well, that 48 machine, all rocking the Jimmy Johnson scheme back in the day, that usually would win here at Charlotte all the time, and the Chris machine. Got to give it up to all these cars and all the great paint schemes that they're running out here. I know Chris Jones, the one that has made a lot of these schemes for these drivers, and all the hard work, really worth it, as these schemes just look amazing, and a great credit to Jones.
Yeah, I really like the paint schemes. I really like. I love that the league went this far with it. Even with their logo for the series, they took the NASCAR one and eliminated some of the things to make it a C for the Chris Cup series. And it's funny. It's great. They're having fun with it. It's cool to see, and it's something you don't really see too much on a sim like this. And everyone's just here having fun.
And the car that the lead pack is passing by is going to be Takis, who is running back in 11th at the moment, getting a lot of damage, trying to get as much repaired. But yeah, this is a dual race, so The rules for the second race, the top 9 get to invert themselves in the grid, but they will still be in the top 9 the next race. Just their positionings will be inverted. The 10 on back will be staying in the same position. Where you finish in race 1 will practically be where you're starting for race number 2. Both races are going to be 80 laps. Top 3 for both races get some cash. So there is money on the line for these drivers. So you gotta know, yes, there's been a lot of carnage, but you gotta stay out there. You never know who's gonna be left during this race. As the 90 machine of Chris Newman, the car that started on the pits when this thing's dropping the green, is now leading the pack as the pace car rolls off, and they are getting ready to go green.
Yeah, here they come to the restart zone. The green flag flies. Chris Newman on the gas. The 98, though, is actually going to get a better start and beat him to the line. That'll be interesting to see if there's any black flags from iRacing for that. I'm not sure. I can't really remember how iRacing works with that.
Oh, that 90 machine. Something happened.
Yeah, Chris Newman in the 90. Maybe that's why he started from pit lane. He just doesn't feel confident in the car. It looks like he just backed up into turn 1 and almost disaster, but he's up to speed now into turn 3 and third position. Still has a clean car, so no harm, no foul quite yet. But up front, you have the 48 and the 98 of Chris Leach and Chris Ralberg going for the lead.
And I'm surprised that we're seeing this Chrissy D machine still holding strong up front with that Chris Lowe's type of machine in the 48 trying to get by, and the cleaner car is the 48 machine. And you know, usually we talk about the fresher tires is the key here, but it might just be who has the cleanest car at the end. But this Chrissy D machine in the 98 still out there up front leading another lap. That is Chris Roberg staying strong, even though with their whole entire left side looking crunched.
Yeah, he's holding pretty strong, and you know, if I think under short runs like this, it won't hurt too much, that damage. You can see the 48 dive low into turn 3, trying to get that spot, slides up, isn't able to do it. Chris Roberg's going to hold on to the lead. But just as I was saying, with the damage on short runs, it's not going to hurt them too much. It's only really going to be if they get on a long run and the tires start to wear, they'll overheat a bit quicker, and then you might see the issues that the damage will cause. But for right now, he's holding the lead strong and was able to hold off his first challenge from the 48.
We're starting to see a lot of the action heating up back in third as they're trying to run down these machines. It looks like Chris Newman has gotten his car in the right direction as he's trying to move forward, but he lost a ton of speed coming through the middle of 3 and 4, and Morris right on the back bumper of the 90.
Christopher Morris in that Chris Wrench car, that thing doesn't have a back end. The front end's crumpled like a beer can, and here he is. Just took third position and still showing really good speed. And there's a battle for the lead with the 48 at this time on the outside of the 98.
Trying the outside and seeing if they'll be able to save the tires and make a clean run, as the momentum should give it to the 48 coming off the corner. And there it is, a clean pass for the 48 of Chris Leach. And then we also got the 98 holding second. But back in third, yeah, it's the 3 machine of Chris Morris. Somehow, with how damaged that machine is, we saw how fast Morris was last week, still able to show the speed this week in the top 3, trying to stay in the cash as top 3, get some money, and everyone else, they do not. This is a 2-race duel, and this is only race number 1. We're 22 laps in, 59 laps to go. And man, Bronson, I gotta say, I think this is way more action than what we were expecting here in the start of this race.
Yeah, I expected to maybe be a little bit more calm for the get-go, but I think that's the perks of an all-star race. They know they can go for it. As you see a pass for third going on with the 5 car on the 3. Not going to be able to get it as the 3 of Christopher Morris holds the outside line. But I'm just looking at the speeds of that 3 car. The damage is hurting him a little bit on the straightaways. He's about 2 miles an hour down. And I think that's why you can see the 5 getting such a good run, entering corners on him. He just can't carry that straightaway speed. But he's fine in the corners, so if he's able to hold the top and not let the guy clear before entry, he should be okay to hold on pretty decently. As I say that, there goes the 5 car of Chris Hupka right on by into third position.
Gotta say, this 5 machine, I think I see a Terry the Tiger or we should probably say Chris the Tiger, on that top of the hood of that 5 machine, showing strength, being one of the fresher cars that does not have a ton of damage. Now Hubka has his sights set on the Chrissy D 98 machine of Chris Roberg. And got to give credit to that 48. He is pulling away, and that gap is almost a second long between the 48 and the 98.
Yeah, I think what's really happening there is the left side damage on Chris Broberg. You can see now, as I was saying, once he kind of gets a couple laps on the tires and the dirty air, it probably just does not want to turn down the track quite as well as when he was in clean air. He's just losing a little bit of lap time, and it's going to hurt the more and more laps they run here. But Chris Hubka closing in quick for that second position, actually ran the quickest lap of the top 3 by over 2/10. So he is flying right now.
Yeah, over 2/10, almost 3/10 that 5 machine is going. And, you know, we're about halfway on the fuel stint and tires for the 90 machine of Chris Newman, who's on 21 lap old tires. He was one of the only cars that did not pit on this last caution, as we're seeing a pass back in 4th. We're seeing Christian Roos. So we're going to say these guys' names wrong. 14 machine able to make the pass done on Morris, and Morris drifting back to 5th now. That car is way too damaged. But yeah, fuel is something to watch out for in the next 20 to about 30 laps for that 90 machine, and everyone else will be about 6 to maybe 8 laps later than that.
Yeah, they're starting to spread out here a little bit. We had the 2 big wrecks at the beginning of the race that definitely shook up the field, as you have guys with damage, guys without damage, and you know you can't really keep up with guys that have a clean car when you're damaged, and it's going to cause a lot less cautions just due to you guys not being close together. So we're getting to the point where you could pit here soon, another 10-15 laps, go to the end, and pretty much I mean, you could pit now and make it to the end, but your tires wouldn't be too happy. So I think in probably about 10 laps or so, you might see the 90 come in, and then shortly after that, guys would follow.
Well, our leaders, as you saw on our camera, the 2 National Chris machines that are a couple laps down are probably going to become even more laps down. So that's Christopher Tate in the 25 machine, that camo National Chris, and then also Christopher Takis and the other camo but red National Chris machine, as our leaders are running them down. But I got to give credit to the 98, as he is caught up to the 48 by a ton. What happened to that 48 machine? Because he has lost all that time.
Yeah, I think the 48 actually was running really, really hard, and the 98 maybe let him go and burn his tires up. As you can see here, they're battling for the lead now, and it's a 3-way battle this time with the 48, 98, and the 5. And honestly, the 14's not too far behind either.
Yeah, they're not that far away, but lap traffic might be the factor that gives whoever's up front the lead, as we got Christopher Takis right here in that camo National Chris machine, as we're seeing the Chrissy D making the pass for the lead. That 98 going for it, and the 5 machine as well, as looks like we might have seen a drop of the 25 machine go, as on our telemetry a couple of machines did drop out for a hot second. They they are back in now, but the 48 machine, Leach, I think he might have brushed the wall or something, because he is losing a lot of ground fast.
Yeah, I'm taking a quick look. I don't see anything pushed in besides what was already there beforehand. So I think maybe he just ran way too hard at the get-go, as he just lost 3rd position to Christian Roos. And that's one of the things with these Cup cars. They're pretty flat out, but you pay the price if you decide to go flat out, and I think you can see that happening with the 48 of Chris Leach right now.
Leach dropped back to 4th. It could be losing even more positions, as you never know, he might have to drop back even further, as we're seeing Hubka, the next machine he's got in his sights. It's going to be that 98 for 1st, and this is a battle that we thought was going to be for 2nd, now for 1st, and you got to give credit to this 98 machine of Roberg for really being able to stay strong with everyone else's fresher tires.
Yeah, Chris Roberg doing a really good job here so far. He took care of it and back to the lead, not by very much over Chris Hubka, but the lead's the lead. Clean air is pretty important, and he has it.
Yeah, we're starting to see the power of the clean air as another lap machine down on the apron, just trying to run laps at this point. Now, you might not win this race, but this is a dual race. This is race number 1, and where you finish kind of sets you up for where you're going to start next race. The 10th through 18th will be starting wherever they finish during this race, but 9th to 1st, wherever they finish for this race number 1, their starting grid will be inverted at the start of race number 2.
It'll be interesting to see towards the end of the race if a guy maybe running 7th or 8th decide to really slow down and try and battle for 9th position so you can start on the pole for race number 2. But we'll have to wait and see if that happens, or if that's even allowed. Some people will say you're not allowed to slow down that much and stuff like that, because obviously you're doing it intentionally. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see if they decide to really slow their pace down and try and race for that last 9th place to start first for race 2.
I would really doubt that they would try to do that. I mean, as we're seeing in side-by-side action for the lead, Hupka trying to get the run off of 4, just not able to. Kind of got pinched by Roberg, but Roberg now running a little bit higher, and they're still side-by-side going into turn number 1.
Yeah, they're staying side-by-side. That's allowing the 14 of Christian Roos to catch up pretty quickly. He's right there, only about 3-4 tenths back. That's definitely close enough to make it a little bit more annoying on Roberg for having to defend from 2 cars instead of 1.
Yeah, Roberg is trying his best. That 98 machine, I mean, from afar, it doesn't look too bad, but you look up close, that thing is dented up on the left side from the first and second accidents that we had. Those first 2 wrecks were big ones. We saw about 5, then 8 machines all involved right now in the pits. We have a total of 4 cars still in the pits trying to get repairs done. And then we got a couple of other machines that were in the pits for about 10 to possibly 2 to 5 minutes long just trying to get repairs done. But it's only the top 4 that really have been keeping their cars clean, and they are the ones up front running the best laps.
Yeah, so far you can see the cleaner cars have prevailed, and that's not necessarily surprising. A 1.5 aero is pretty important, and keeping a clean car, you're going to have the best aerodynamics in the field, and that just makes everything a bit easier when you're going for a win. But the battle for the lead is still on, as they are starting to pull away from 3rd place now, so it's just between the 98 of Roberg and the 5 of Hupka for the time being.
Yeah, it's a half second back where the 14 car is, but even being a half second back and now closing in, is the draft a factor here to watch out for? Does that help being just this close to everyone? Does the draft help you in the straightaway, or is it a weakness to have going into the corners?
It's kind of both. You like it on the straightaway, but the second you have to slow down and turn, you hate it. The draft is really nice to try and get up there, but when you're running behind a car, your tires are already a little hot and worn out. You don't like being in the draft, as it just makes your car kind of aero tight, and you kind of got to work the right front a bit more, and you can wear your right front out more, and that's a strategy the leader sometimes uses, and that's why clean air is so important with this package on these cup cars. It's just clean air. Obviously you don't have anyone's dirty hot air running over your car, and you're able to take care of the right front tire better.
Now we're going to do a quick rundown of where these machines are running as we're getting past the halfway marker and wondering when we're going to be seeing these cars come into the pits. But up front first, Chris Roberg, somehow in that Chrissy D machine, able to be staying up front. Then it's going to be Chris Hupka in second at 5. And that car staying probably the cleanest car up there in the top 5, and just trying to save his tires possibly on why he has not tried to make a move on our leader. But in third, it's Chris Roos. And Roos surviving a couple of these first couple of accidents, and now up to 3rd. Back up in 4th, it's going to be Christopher Morris, who somehow got past Chris Leach, and that machine running just as fast as our 2nd place runners. So still pace in that 3 machine, even though the tires and damage is severe.
Yeah, as the tires start to wear off for that 3, I think you'll see him kind of get a little more evened out. Doesn't matter if you can hold on to it there, but yeah, he's doing pretty good.
I mean, for the 3 machine, with how much damage he has, do you think it's better just to try to save your tires more than anything, and wait for everyone else to even out to you, and then you might have fresher stuff to push your car later on?
That's kind of what he has to do with the damage. He has to kind of manage it and just kind of let them come back to him. As you're not going to be able to click off the really quick lap times off the get-go until the tires are more worn, and you pretty much can carry more corner speed. And not have to worry about the straight line deficit a little bit. And he's done a good job as he's running lap times, like you were saying, just as quick as the top three.
And then in fifth, we got Chris Leach, who was up there in the top three, top four, and overused his tires, possibly brushed the wall, and that 48 machine dropped back like a rock. But back in sixth, it's the 90 machine of Chris Newman, and Newman started first on that last restart, but he did not get a good start, and just looks like that machine just hasn't been stable in his hands. But he's one of the last cars that really has a clean car. Back in seventh is the 24 machine, and gotta give up to Chris in this 24. Been involved in a couple of accidents, but still running in the top 9. So if the start of next race, he'll be starting in third if he keeps on running where he's at. Then in eighth, we've got Christopher Papa and running that Crisco car. And I love the Crisco cars because they're always fun cars to look at. And it's a shame to see this machine being involved in an accident. Pretty much everyone from here on out was involved in either the first or the second caution. Back in ninth, it's going to be Chris Bass. And at the start of next race, Chris Bass is in that spot in ninth where he will be starting in first. So Chris Bass, if he can keep running here, is good. And also, it's the last car on the lead lap. A car that's one lap down, that's going to be Chris Jones. And Jones, thank you, Mr. Jones, for making most of these schemes out here. And they have been looking fresh and really nice to look at. Got to give credit to Chris Jones on that. 11th is a machine that's in the pits. And is this a scheduled pit stop for this 35 machine, do you think?
I would assume so, but he's been down there for quite a while now with the pit stop. I think he got caught speeding, as I did watch all 4 tires get changed, and he's still sitting in his pit box, so I think he has a speeding penalty.
And that's Christopher Ritchie in that Chris tied machine. And his car is not as clean as I would say that Chris is able to make your clothes clean. So remember to grab some Chris to get your clothes as clean as you want it to be. And then as you've got in 13th, you've got Christopher Takis. And Takis, one of those machines that was looking strong last week for the actual regular season race at Charlotte. Finished in the top 3, and just a machine that's always been quick and someone to watch out for the rest of the regular season. And in 14th, just coming into the pits about 5 minutes ago, and the rest of the machines that are here in the pits is Christopher Takis, the 7 machine, Chris Summers, Chris Novelet, and also Christopher Reese. All 4 of these machines still in pit road. Back up front, though, we're seeing the 98 pulling away.
Fourth and fifth place, Christopher Morris and Chris Leach have just pit this lap, as well as the 90 of Chris Newman. So those are the first of pretty much the guys that are running for top 5-ish position, and they're on pit road from 4th, 5th, and 6th. Be interesting to see how quick they get out of there, and here comes the race leader as well.
Race leader is coming in. That's the 98 machine, and we'll see how well those pit stops go. Giving the lead to Christian Roos. And Roos, who's been saving up his tires, got past the 5 machine and was up second before leader came into the pits. And so it's really interesting to watch all these drivers come into the pits, as Chris Newman was the car that stayed out, had the oldest tires. I would imagine the next car to come in is going to be Chris Murphy in the 30 machine. That was a car we accidentally skipped over in 11th. Right at the moment, that car is on 43 lap old tires and fuel, and got to give credit to the 30 machine. Does not have a front bumper, but still running. As we're waiting to see what other machines are going to come in the pits. Chris Bass also coming in, and also some other machines, as it looks like the 24 is also in, and our leader back on track. Our former leader, Chris Roberg, back on track.
Chris Hubka just hit pit road a couple laps after the 98. That'll be interesting to see if going a little bit longer, have a slightly fresher tire, if it's going to be able to help him race that 98 car and maybe even jump the 14 again, as he was starting to lose ground to him just before pitting here. So I expect the 14 car to probably be pitting. He's coming in this lap, actually. I was going to say I expect him within a lap or 2. He doesn't want to lose too much ground to those guys that he's racing, and here he comes.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we didn't see I mean, our front runners, it's not like they're racing for points. They're racing for the win here, so I'm kind of surprised they didn't come in when they saw the 98 come in. As staying out, you're kind of losing time by staying out. The cars that are short pitting are going to be gaining time, but is it better for the long run with having the fresh tires later on in our run? Only a couple of cars that have not pitted. That's going to be Christopher Takis, it's going to be Murphy, as well as Papa, who is our leader at the moment.
Yeah, you can already see actually Chris Roberg has passed Chris Hubka and has a decent margin on him just from a 2 or 3 lap pit stop difference. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out, if you can make that time up or not. And where's the 14? The 14 is also coming off of pit road, and he's behind.
Right now, going to be in front
ahead of the 5. Yeah, he stayed ahead of the 5.
So able to stay strong, but you're seeing the strength of these cars that pitted early. They were able to gap. I mean, you've got the 48 machine, the 3, as well as the 98 that were able to gain time on the 14 and the 5 of Chris Roos and also Chris Hupka. So it's impressive to see these drivers trying to stay out, but is it better in the long run? As we got 26, soon to be 25 laps to go in our first duel tonight of the Chris Cup All-Star Race. As Chris Papa is the one in the lead, still out there on 42 lap old tires.
Yeah, Christopher Papa just maybe trying to run it out, maybe get a caution as everyone will come back in. Or what was the last lap he pit on? Because if it's anywhere
42,
after,
now about to be 43 laps ago.
It's really close if he can make it. That's really, really close. It's
going to be about
60 laps. So
yeah, I mean, during the Chris Cup here at Charlotte last week, we saw a driver go for, I believe it was for 54, 56 laps. That was the furthest that we saw any of the cars try to push it. So,
a caution!
Caution is out, and we're going back to figure out who it was for.
That's exactly what the 13 car
Murphy
needed.
And I believe that is also the 62 car of Reese that just got out after being in the pits for so long.
Oh, what actually happened? It actually happened just ahead of that. The 97 of Chris Bass had a net code into turn 3 with the 62 spinning him around.
As you're seeing the 62 being spun around, and you hate to see it for the 62 car because he was on pits for almost, I think it was like 12 minutes, but was now taken out and has to take his car back into the pits. We'll see how much damage he has and if he's able to get back on track, because he's 51 laps down, trying to get as many positions as he can.
You know, I almost expect everyone to come in and pit here. It'll be interesting if the 98 doesn't, because he already has 7 laps on his tires as yet he turns down pit road. So net lead to Christopher Papa, who, you know, played that perfectly and got a caution right when he needed one to hold on to that top spot. And we failed to mention real quick, Sam, the 3 car of Christopher Morse, who pit from 5th, is now in 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest movers of our drivers that on the green flag run. We're moving back up front to see where cars are right now. Hupka still out there. Bruce also out there, but Morris and others waiting to see when they will come out of the pits, as they're under pits right now. And you got to wonder.
Top 3 stayed out, Sam. Chris Newman, Christian Roos, and Chris Hubka. And yeah, that'll be interesting. The 98 is going to come off pit road. The 13 still on pit road. I wonder if he had some damage to repair, and that's why he wasn't pitting.
Yeah, possibly was it. Staying out and hoping for it to stay green was his only option to win this thing, and it was now with this caution, throwing the 13 of Christopher Papa out of race contention. Well, Christian Roos, the only Christian in the field out of a whole bunch of Chris and Christopher, is second right now, pitted 5, soon to be 6 laps to go. All the drivers are set and good to make it to the end. And I got to give credit to the 5 and the 14 and for the 90. all three of these machines been able to stay clean, but who will win this race at the end? Christopher Berg in fourth place is someone that's been up front, been one of the more dominant cars since he got up to the front, got up to the lead. We'll see if this Chrissy D machine can get back up to the lead once we go green.
Yeah, he's going to have the freshest tires of anyone in the top 3 by about 9 laps, 6 laps, and 7 laps. That's a decent little difference, but it's not too bad, at least. And really the helpful thing is, for Chris Hubka, he's got 2 other cars between him and Roberg. So that'll help him a little bit, as we're coming to 20 to go this time by, and I would expect the lights to go out for 1 to green. So only about 19 laps to go. It can definitely work out if he can get away and get a big enough gap and use the clean air to his advantage.
So we're going to run down the top 10 right now. We got Chris Hubka, Christian Roos. We also got Chris Newman in third. Fourth is Chris Berg, and then we got Chris Leach in fifth. Now, these drivers, yes, they're finishing in the top 5 at the moment, but if they end the race here, they're going to be starting back 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, and 5th. So something to watch out for, as the top 9 will be inverted in the starting grid for the next race. They'll still be in the top 9, just inverted. Everyone from 10th on back, though, will be starting wherever they finish is where they're starting in the second dual race. This is race number 1, less than 20 laps to go. Waiting for the lights to go off, and then we will go green and see who wins the first duel of the Chris Cup All-Star Races. And going down to 6th, we got Christopher Papa, Christopher Morris, and then 8th is going to be the 24 of Shalik, and then the 9 of Bass. Here's the thing with Bass. He's 1 lap down. The car in 10th is 2 laps down, so as long as he stays where he's at, and or if he moves up, he'll be in the 9th slot and possibly starting first in the next duel. We're running only two duels tonight. The cars are now getting lined up. Lights are out. Top 3 in both duels will be getting some money. Third place will be getting the same amount of money that they put in to get into this race. The top 2 will be getting a little bit more cash than everyone else. So that is the pot rundown. We weren't given the exact number of money that the drivers will be getting, but it's still enough cash for the drivers to say, hey, this is worth it. And it's always fun to watch the Chris Cup as these guys running some special Chris schemed cars. As all the regular sponsors you would see on these things have Chris in them. And it's got to be something special for all these guys, all the Christophers, Christians out there, being able to see some Chris's running up front and running throughout the whole entire field. The space car lights are off, and we're coming off of turn number 4. Pace car is off. We'll be going green at 62 laps ran down.
There goes the restart. The 5 car gets a decent start, but the 14 is actually trying to stay to his outside. The 98's already cleared for 3rd. That's bad news for the 5 and the 14, as here comes Chris Roberg already moving into 2nd position.
Roberg up to 2nd and trying to move up to 1st. I mean, that 98 machine shot off like a rocket. Even with the damage on the left side, got to give credit to that Chrissy D machine trying to win the first duel of tonight's races.
Yeah, there's the fresh tire difference right there. That's why you wanted some cars in between yourself and him, but wasn't able to keep the cars in between. And to the lead in just a lap goes Chris Roberg. And it'll be interesting to see if anyone else can get up there, as Chris Leach and Christopher Morris are already to the back bumpers of the 48 and the 5, trying to make their way up, trying to follow the 98. But now the cars are up to speed, that high side's going to be a little bit better for defending than it was on that first lap.
Well, also, I got to give credit to the 3 machine of Christopher Morris. He's been able to get even more damage repaired. That 3 machine looking strong now on the back bumper of the 14 and the 48, as they are very close and they don't look stable. They look like they were about to touch there in turn number 2, but able to still be going straight. And they are still battling strong here, back in 4th and 5th.
Yeah, that 3 machine is really pushing, and that rear end damage typically makes the car a little bit more unstable, but he's going with it. He's up to 4th position now, ahead of the 14, who has a relatively cleaner race car. But the 3rd place, Christopher Leach, is starting to try and track down Chris Hubka in the 5, who hasn't really lost ground to Chris Roberg at all.
No, I mean, Hubka doing a fantastic job. 6-lap older tires, then that 98 machine up front in the lead. That's Chris Hubka right now with the older tires in second, still holding strong, trying to make some moves whenever he can on the 98. But we saw Leach. He has a very good short run machine in that 48 Chris Lowe's paint scheme, and that 48 car looked strong at the beginning, but halfway through that green flag run we had, he just dropped back like a rock after using too much stuff. But Hubka making a pass on the bottom, trying to make the move for the lead. It's a 5 machine.
I don't think that's going to stick against the fresh tires. He's able to hold down there, but not able to actually get past him. But he's able to stay low for a little bit longer. And, all it did, though, was bring the 48 into this battle now as well.
14 laps to go when it's really heating up as our top 3 side-by-side action. And you got to be careful with all this action that's going on up front. With them staying side-by-side, they're using up their tires, which is not good for Chris Hubka, who's on the oldest of tires, but it's also allowing this 3 machine to get back into the mix with our top 3.
Yeah, you can see right here, Chris Hubka now battling for second with the 48. The 48's going to try and use the high side of the racetrack and then track down the 98 if he can get past this 5. Oh, the 5 gets the apron, slides up. That's going to be an easy pass for the 48 of Chris Leach, and now he sets his sights onto the 98 of Chris Roberg.
And now Roberg and Leach on the same tires, and you got to wonder, with the 48 making more passes than the 98, how much have those tires been worn down? Can the 48 make any moves? But back in 3rd, we're seeing the 3 machine going up to 3rd, and that Chris Wrench, number 3, Chris Morris, who was the fastest car at the last Charlotte race, really showing that he's got speed even with a car that's riddled with damage, who doesn't even have a back bumper. That 3 machine up to 3rd and trying to make it forward up to 2nd.
Yeah, he's done a really good job, especially with the amount of damage that car has around the entire body of it. And he's in the 3rd position, the money-paying position for out of the top 3. He's the first one of them. And, I'd be worried if that next race when he has a clean race car, if I'm the rest of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of machines that are going to be starting in the back next race that were fast qualified up front, but all got damaged in the first couple of cautions. So can't wait to see all those machines with fresher tires. We're seeing a lot of smoke on the apron. I think that might have been Takis that was down there. I do not know for sure, though.
Takis has a blowing motor. He's taking it to pit road. I think he's done. Just we're gonna sit around and wait for race number 2 at this point.
Takis in 12th, so he'll be starting in 12th for next race at the moment, unless other machines are able to pass him, as Takis now in the pits. Everyone else behind him are in the pits, except for Christopher Tate, who is 33 laps down, trying to make as many moves as front as he can. 10 laps to go right now. It's Chris Roberg in that 98 machine, who's involved in the first couple of cautions. That full entire left side was dented in at one point, still running strong in 1st, and back in 2nd. It's the 48 of Chris Leach, who also has this 3 machine of Chris Morris, and also the 5 of Chris Hubka. And behind Hubka, you got Christian Roos, who's still staying strong. You got all 5 of these machines still on top of one another, but there's almost a half a second and gaining lead between 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, I think that battle right now is for 2nd and 3rd, kind of going on. The 2nd of Chris Leach is holding his ground pretty well, but Christopher Morris, with that damage, is struggling on the straightaways and is coming under attack every now and then from Hubka and Roos, Roos is now going after 4th place on Hubka. So those slightly older tires not
Hubka
quite doing their job anymore, as he goes up the track, almost gets the wall. He's pretty much out of it now. I think those tires have hit their limit for how hard he can run them. But we're gonna have a battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th probably till the end of this race.
Yeah, our leader Chris Roberg pulling away almost a 2nd gap now to 2nd place. And I got to give it up to Roberg. We thought he might have been out of it, but still holding strong in second right now. Chris Leach second. Third is going to be Morris. Morris now pushing on the bottom. Got a huge run off of turn number 4. Going to be trying to make it side by side going into turn number 1 as it's 7 laps to go in this thing.
Yeah, Christopher Morris got a really good run. You could see he wasn't quite able to capitalize on the run off of turn 4 just due to the damage, but he was able to stay to the inside and take it through 1 and 2, and he's still down low, but you can just see that 48 without all the damage around him, how much faster he is on the straightaway. So the 3 car really needs to clear him in the corner as he does, because the 48 runs high, and the 14 is now into 3rd position as well, going after 2nd.
Roos got a huge run, and you've got to see on the front hood of the 14 machine of all the actions going on. But once you're that high, as the 14's extremely high, you'll lose the momentum. The high side works, but if you're losing too much speed, try not to hit the wall, there's an issue. But Morris blinking now in front of the 14. That could be an issue to watch out for if we see Morris blink out. Morris blinked out during the Charlotte race last week. So the 3 machine got to be careful as it's now 5 laps to go. Chris Roberg, almost a 1.5 gap between himself in 2nd place and 3rd.
Yeah, the battle is definitely for 2nd place, I think, till the end, as there's a battle going on behind them for 4th as well between Hupka and Leach. They almost just touched entering turn 1 with Hupka sliding from the apron, but does get the position on Leach for 4th. So the 48 probably burnt up his tires as well. I think that's what we saw last run. He got up to the lead ahead of Roberg and then quickly fell off and fell back through the field. Meanwhile, you still have Morris and Roos going at it for 2nd position here, as at this point, if you're Chris Roberg, you're just keeping it out of the wall, because over a 1.3 second lead, they're not going to catch you in 2 or 3 laps.
No, here's the situation that Roberg's in, as he's going to be coming to 2 laps to go. The car behind him has so much damage. He is struggling just to keep going.
For a second, Sam.
And they're running so close to one another. Roos is on 24-lap old tires. Morris is on 19 old tires. Morris is blinking, though, which is making it very chaotic for these 2 drivers, as it's 2 laps to go, and it's looking like Roberg just needs to keep on going. But back in battle for 4th, you've got these guys still battling back and forth. They're both on very old tires. Leach running his too much, but Roos making the pass on the inside as we're coming to the white flag this time.
Yeah, he tried this move last lap, and they almost got together entering turn 3. This time, though, the 3 is going to run a little high, and Roos is going to get that position, not able to stay in the gas for Christopher Morris. I don't think he has enough time to build up another run to try and get him in 3 and 4. So I think that's that battle dissolved, especially with the straightaway speed lacking on that 3 car. But, man, they were really going at it for 2nd position. Chris Hupka has half a second to lead, so that battle's pretty much done. Everyone else is just by themselves running out, so Chris Roberg is going to come across as the winner of race number 1.
Race number 1, duel number 1 goes in the books. Chris Roberg, the one that survives, as the first couple of laps was chaotic, as so many cars were involved with instances all over the track. I only think about 2 cars maybe were completely clean all race long out of all the 18 cars that were here. But I got to give credit to Roberg, able to last even with the damage on that Sunny D's machine. A beautiful run. We will be having interviews with our top 3 once they're in the booth and ready to come in. And what a run for this 98 machine. Bronson, I got to ask, did this race go any way that you thought it was going to go?
I really thought we would go a bit later in the race until we saw the amount of carnage we did and cars wrecked up. But I kind of expected that at some point, with it being an all-star race. It just happened a bit sooner than I anticipated. But besides that, just a solid race. It pretty much couldn't have gone much more to plan, I think, for most of these guys.
As you're saying, the Sunny D, the Chrissy D, I should say, 98 machine doing his donuts and celebrating. That was a beautiful run for the Chrissy D machine. And you got to give it up to the 14 and also the 3. Those cars tried their best, but tires were the issue for Roos, who wasn't able to keep up with Roberg, and damage was the deeming factor for that 3 machine. Got to give credit to all these guys. This is only race number 1 of the 2 duels tonight for the All-Star race. We will be really I mean, with just the way that first race went down, I think some of these drivers won't be as crazy about trying to wreck one another at the start of the second race. But I mean, that's race number one down. We know who our top three are, and we're waiting for all the drivers to be coming in for the waiting room. And I think we do have the race winner ready for us here just in one moment. As we're trying to pull in race winner, I should say, of Chris Roberg. Got to give credit to all the guys out here. It was a great run, and it was a fun race to watch, this race number one, as we are now pulling in the 98 machine. Chris, it's Sam and Bronson up in the booth. How was that race for yourself?
Oh man, holy smokes. I really sucked at qualifying, but still, I don't know how I did it, but I have a great crew chief and spotter here, so thanks for him for doing this.
Man,
I know
Chris,
he was he had an emergency earlier before, so this is for him.
I mean, Chris, you had the damage on the left side, and we were documenting how that could have been affecting your car. Did you feel that damage on the left side at all during that race?
Oh, actually, I didn't feel nothing. It was just a little rumple, I guess. After the incident there, 17 kind of just scraped my side of my driver's side, but didn't affect my arrow at all. I think the most important is the arrow on the right side. Is more important.
Bronson, you got any questions for Chris here?
Yeah, you win race number one. Obviously, a really great job done there. But unfortunately, it means you're going to be starting ninth for race number two. How do you approach that one now?
See what happens in the next race.
I mean, that's probably the best way to go into the race. I mean, Chris, you were the only Chris in the top three. You had Christian and Christopher there finishing up our top three. I mean, how does it feel to be the top running Chris here in the duel number one?
Well, it feels pretty great. It's like, wow, I'm still a shock.
I mean, is there anything that you can take from this race in duel number one into duel number two?
Just keep on trying to do what I gotta do. Just keep running where much as I can, and hopefully it will be the same thing again over and over.
Well, that was Chris from the 98 Chrissy D machine. Thank you for coming in the booth. Good luck on duel number two, and hopefully we'll see you in the top three and maybe even win the second duel tonight.
Thank you.
We're going to be bringing in some other drivers as well into to talk with, as it looks like we've got Christian Roos ready for to be brought in for this thing. As Christian, another driver that really had to struggle to stay up front, but he was on the older tires, but got it done in second place. Christian, it's Sam and Bronson up in the booth. How are you feeling after that thing?
Oh, I'm feeling great. A hell of a run.
I mean, a hell of a run it was. I mean, you were running the 14 machine, and that car looked like it was one of the only machines that was able to stay clean all race long. How on your end did it feel like, with all the cautions that were going on, how did it feel being one of the cleaner cars up there?
It was pretty crazy, honestly. I got in the wall early on just a little bit, but snaking my way through a couple of those wrecks, it was a little crazy, but feels good to stay clean, and hopefully we can do that in duel two.
Yeah, Bronson, you got any questions here for Christian?
Yeah, you just mentioned hopefully you can stay clean, but you started fifth in this one, but now you're gonna be rolling off eighth for the second one, and the end of lap 3 or 4, we saw a 5-6 car wreck and another 8 car wreck later on from the middle of the field. How careful do you kind of have to be now in this second race? Do you think are they gonna kind of do the same thing here and decide to wreck up early, or do you just kind of not think about it and just go after it?
I'd like to think that hopefully everyone got their jitters out in the first race, and we can all kind of learn from that and move on. Personally, I'm just going to try to get up front as soon as I can and away from some of the chaos that's pretty inevitable at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Christian, we were seeing cars coming in at different times during the green flag run. If we do stay green for the second duel, is there any strategy that you're thinking about throwing out, or are you just going to push your car as far as you can?
Um, Honestly, it just kind of depends on what I see guys in front of me doing. If they pit, I might stay out a couple more laps. If they come in, or if they stay out, I might come in and try to play a little game there. But honestly, I think I just base my stuff on what everyone else is doing.
Well, it's Christian in the 14 machine, and that was a great run there in duel number 1. We'll see if you can get the win and get that one spot in front of you in duel number 2. Last question though before we let you go.
Yeah.
What are your plans? Because you're not going to be starting up front during this next race. It's inverted in our first half of cars. How are you going to be having to get through all that traffic?
Just gonna try to pick them off one by one and get them how they come to me.
And that's what the 14 machine's going to do. We're actually going to toss to you to do some shout outs here.
Honestly, shout out to my new wife as of last weekend. She kind of lets me do this on my nights off, so love that. Thanks to Chris Jones for putting this together. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting for us, and thanks to everyone watching out there.
That's Christian in the 14 machine. Good luck in the next race there, bud.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And now we're going to be waiting for duel number 2 to come out. We'll give you guys a little bit of a rundown once that comes around, but a great race so far that we saw in our first duel. Can't wait for the second one to pop up as our drivers are getting ready for that one. 18 drivers were here for the first duel, and only a couple were able to survive without any damage. We'll see if they can survive in the second. I mean, is there anything that you're ready for this second duel there, Bronson?
If anything, kind of like what Roberg was saying, maybe they got their jitters out, and Christian was saying the same thing. Maybe they just have their early start jitters out, and we see a little bit cleaner of the start of the race and keep more cars together in it for the whole event. As I think it'd be fun to have more cars running for the win, and it's always exciting when you have battling going on throughout the field. And so hopefully we have a little bit cleaner of a race in terms of taking out 13 cars and 2 cautions before halfway. But if not, it's an all-star race. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, there's no points on the line. It's only for fun and a little bit of cash. So the drivers are going to be putting on a great show. For duel number 2, I think Chris Bass should be the one that gets the pole if all 18 drivers make it into the next race. So we'll see how that 97 machine could be starting up front, as it was one of the machines that actually got involved in a quick accident on that first caution. It will get things fixed up, and only 1 lap down during the first duel, but should be starting pole on the second duel. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. It's going to be a quick intermission while we get set up for duel number 2 of the Chris Cup All-Star Races. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to race number 2. Chris Batts is going to be starting on pole with Christopher Papa, and this is duel number 2 of tonight's 2-duel race. Duel number 1 was won by Chris Roberg. Second place was going to be Christian Roos, and then Christopher Morris in 7th. You know, duel number 1, Bronson, kind of went a little haywire, and the first 20 laps got to see 2 big ones. And I think that wasn't the way we expected that race to go, and I don't think we're going to see that during this race, but who knows? We might see another big one.
Yeah, there was definitely a little bit of carnage in that first race, but just like we were hearing from Christian and our second place finisher, he's saying hopefully everyone has their jitters out, as after those 2 wrecks we did pretty much go green to the end, besides one other caution right with 20 to go, with just a single car spin and someone running into him right in the end with nowhere to go. So I think we should be in for hopefully a cleaner race, but I think we'll find out really quickly if we're not.
And it looks like we're going to have Bass up front in the first, and then the 97 machine. Then we're going to be having Christopher Papa, and then we're also going to have the 24 of Chris Selleck. Also, Chris Newman, who we saw up front a ton that race, drifted back to 6th, now up to 4th during this race. 5th is going to be Chris Lynch. Chris Hupka is going to be in 5th, is going to be in 6th place. Sorry, right in the 5 machine. Christopher Morris in the 7th place. Roos in 8th. Our race winner of last in the first duel is going to be Roberg in 9th. Then from 10th on down, where they finished during that last race, and Chris Jones. Thank you, Chris Jones, for all these fantastic paint schemes that these drivers are running. He's going to be in 10th. That's your top 10, and these drivers getting ready for race number 2, duel number 2. Money's on the line. You want to be in the top 3 during that cash. But it's with the inverted first 9 where they finished last race. It's going to make things interesting as the pace car pulls off. Duel number 2 of the Chris Cup All-Star Races is now underway as we are green.
Yeah, already right off the bat, Chris Bass gets a really good start over Christopher Papa for the lead. He's going to be all by himself, top 2, 3, 4 single file. Now, the first battles for 5th here with the 48 and the 5 and the 3. Guys that were battling for that second position all at the end of that last race. And here comes the 98 already looking to make it 3 wide. Nope, 2 wide just inside of the 5 car. And cleared for that position. So the 98 of Chris Roberg already looking to make up some positions.
As we're saying, Chris Bass crossing the line on lap number 1 of 80. And, you know, this 97 machine, a lot of the cars out here already trying just to keep as clean as possible. But really, all the action is back here in 8th, where we're seeing all of the cars trying to figure out where they're going to land and where they're going to stay clean, as there's a lot of action going on with all the cars back here.
Yeah, the 5 of Chris Hubka's dropping back through the field pretty quickly right now. I wonder if he's trying to maybe save tires a little bit. He saw it work last race. He was doing it along with the 98, and they were able to catch up to the 48 of Chris Leach and get back by him on that one long run we did have. So he's backing up through the field, currently 12th, started 6th. So I have to think some tire savings going on there, or he just doesn't like how busy it looks in the middle of that pack.
I mean, it was getting pretty crazy up here. It's the 48 machine getting tossed up into the wall. That's going to be Chris Leach. And now he's going to be passed by the 3 machine and also the 24. The 3 machine of Christopher Morris. The car last week when we were racing here at Charlotte for 200 laps was the car to beat. Late run accident got him out of the race, but this 3 machine looking strong with a ton of damage last race. Now a car that's clean, still looking strong, trying to make the pass for 3rd.
Yeah, he's already going underneath the 24 there for 3rd position. He's going to get it pretty easily. Oh, and right behind him, the 24 just gets the wall after that pass. That's going to be some decent damage to the right front for that machine. He's going to want to get in pit road probably as soon as possible. Right behind him is the 48 of Leach, and right behind them, a last race winner, already up to 6th, Chris Roberg.
Roberg still was a strong contender last week, and a strong contender for the win during the duels. Got the win done, but we're seeing this 48 and the 24 still side-by-side action, almost touching one another. This Duke Chris, the 24 car, on the outside, close to the wall again, almost scraping it. And honestly, this 24 needs to be careful not to scrape the wall anymore, as it looks like Chris Morris, once again, another pass. Easy pass on the Crisco of the 13 machine of Christopher Papa.
Yeah, Christopher Morris is flying through the field right now, but Chris Bass has a decent lead. Not sure how hard he's been pushing, but right now for third position, here comes the 24 on the 13, and they're pretty much side by side for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So good little battle for third position right now.
And the car that's just waiting for all this action to finally clear out, it's going to be that 14 machine. But it looks like Papa on the outside just got a boost somewhere entering turn number 1. Got a huge launch off, and we'll see where it goes. But a car that's making big moves in 8th place, now up to 7th. It's got to be Christopher Takis. And Takis was one of those cars that was involved in the first accident, wasn't able to show his speed. He's a car that qualified well last race, up in 3rd, and was involved in that first accident. And now trying to get through this nest of cars. They are all wadded up, and this 46 has nowhere to go.
Yeah, they're racing really hard for that third position. You can see the 13, they're going to go 3 wide off of turn 2 here with the 46. No, the 98 backs out last second, but that's going to give him a huge run. He might be able to get third here right off the bat from the 24. He clears him for a little bit. Is he going to be clear off of turn 4? He is into third place, the 46 of Takis.
I mean, where the heck did Takis start off from? Because this car has been moving through the pack like it's butter with a knife. I mean, this 46 looking good. But up front, it's Morris and Takis that are really, I mean, Morris and Bass that are moving up. And I got to give it up to Takis. Takis and Morris were the 2 cars last week during our 200-lap Charlotte race that were the 2 dominant cars. Now in 2nd and 3rd, trying to get up to Bass. And Bass was another machine who saved his tires all race long, and then was able to make a run here at the end of the race, really showing good stuff in that 97.
Yeah, Takis started 12th. He's already up 9 positions into 3rd. He's going to try and break away from 4th on back and hopefully run down those top 2, but he's already 3 seconds behind the leader. That's how much time he lost when he got up to that battling pack for 3rd. But up front, the lap times are in Christopher Moore's favor by about 0.2 of a second last time by. This time not quite as much, but he is starting to track down our leader.
Still almost a 10th faster is Morris, and Morris trying to make as many moves as possible. As we're still had our cameras on board with this action from 3rd on back, as there's still nose to tail, not really giving anyone any space, as we're starting to see the 48 machine get in the wall back there. Also a car back in 10th. That's Christopher Tate. Tate was the one, I believe he had the pole during our first duel, got taken out in lap number 5, and now is all the way back in 10th, trying to work his way up, and he's got his sights set on the 48 and 35 of Christopher Ritchie and also Chris Leach.
Yeah, Christopher Tate got pole last session and was not really able to stay there too long after the whole top 5 kind of wrecked, and yeah, he's trying to work his way up through the field. He was also given an EOL to start this race. Maybe he asked for it, I'm not sure. But he did start dead last on the field in 19th. And he's up here battling for 10th and better right now. So a decent little start for Christopher Tate in that 25 car.
Yeah, Tate trying to make his moves. Now he's going to be up to that 8th position. But cars up in 6th and up front. I mean, Christopher Berg able to get up to 4th now, started 9th, and that is a strong run for the 98 machine as he's now got Takis in front of him. But the car that's kind of making me nervous with his front pack is the 24 machine. Been seeing him touching the apron around turn 3 and 4. I mean, if you're touching the apron here at this 1.5-mile track, how dangerous is that for the cars around you?
If you're side by side, it can sometimes just shoot you straight up the track into their side, or worse, it can just spin you out and you'll spin on the apron and not even get a caution for it. So you got to be really careful running that apron, running that white line, because if you go below it and get that apron, he kind of gets it again, and you can see it just kind of shoots the car up the track, and it's not too bad when you're by yourself, but if you have a guy to your outside, you're not going to enjoy it.
Cars making moves all over the place. It's yellow in the back. Gonna take a look to see who it was, and looks like it's Christopher Reese that was part of this. And that is the 62 machine. That was, he got flipped over on the front stretch coming off of turn number 4. We're gonna see here on screen the 62 on the bottom with being spun out believe that was
a net code on my end.
That was the 37 machine that got close. We're going to take a different view of this. As the driver's coming through turn 4, coming off the exit, and yeah, there's netcode, but at the same time, that 37 was coming down hard.
Yeah, it looked like he went for the side draft, and netcode decided to carry him a little bit further than obviously you wanted, but 62 got stuck in the catch fence.
It's not a place you usually see cars being stuck, as we're going to do an onboard with the 37 with a hood cam to see exactly what he was seeing while making this type of a move here. And yeah, like you don't really get to see these types of moves, but it happened, and now we get to relive some of the action with these drivers. Take that back. The hood cam is not here for the 37, but we'll take a little bit of a chopper cam on this action here. Yeah, you can see it here, trying to do some side drafting with the 5 car is the 62, and then there's just a weird motion, and both cars trying to be in the same real estate as cars are now in the pits.
Yeah, pretty much everyone comes down pit road. I think everyone does come down pit road. Yes, everyone came down pit road. As expected, after 14, 15 laps on their tires, that's it's a little bit more than what you'd want to be staying out there with. So at this point, it's who's going to get first off of pit road. And it's going to be the 97 is going to hold on to it. Takas going to get second, and Morris loses second to fall to third. So a little switch there. Roberg holds fourth, though.
And we'll see some of the cars in the back that are going to be staying on in the pits to take some more damage, get some damage repair, I should say. As it looks like the 48, the 33, 17, and the 7, and as we saw in the catch fence, the 62, all in the pits trying to get stuff repaired. And it looks like Leach coming out, and as well as the 17 of Noblet. Noblet really didn't really have much to show for after being caught up in some earlier accidents in duel number 1 and getting some damage repair. We'll see if the 17 can make a rebound, as well as Leach. And Christopher Papa is another machine, a long pit stop.
You got to feel kind of bad for the 62 there, Sam. He got caught up in one of the first wrecks last race, came back on the racetrack just to get spun out right off the bat with netcode, and basically sat the whole race in pit road, and here he is again after being flung into the catch fence sitting on pit road. Really unfortunate for the 62 of Christopher Reese.
Yeah, Reese hoping for a better duel all-star night, not having it. The luck was not on the 62 side for both duels, taken out early on both. Only car really sit out and looks like he might be done is the 62. All the other 18 cars are out there. We did have one car that came in. I believe that was the 37 machine. So that is Chris Meza. So 37 machine, the only one who is new on track. Everyone else has ran the duels. So it's going to be interesting to see where some of these drivers land, as we're going to be going green on lap 19 for these cars. Doing a quick math, I believe that they still will not make it to the end. There still should be one more stop if we go green. Just one more stop in general. Even if we have a ton of cautions, do you think these drivers would be able to make it to the end?
Honestly, you can make it to the end here on green. Just over 62 laps, if you're running in the pack with the draft assistance, you could stretch it. It would be tight, you would be slow, but you could stretch it. If you're leading the race, no way. You're pitting at least one more time if you're leading the race, but if there's another caution in 10 laps or so, everyone will be pitting again anyways.
Well, it's the second duel. Points are on the line, but there's a little bit of money, and we are green here with 62 laps to go. And I got to give credit to these guys if they try to do something bold like that. Stay out if this thing goes green. It's going to be Chris Bass up front, Christopher Takis, and Christopher Morris. And the Christophers, they finally got up front after having to get past a lot of machines. They were fast, qualifying lap-wise for that first duel, and now they're trying to make moves. It's Bass disconnecting from the race because of netcode reasons at the time, but we'll see if he pops back up.
He did pop back up, but he gave away all those positions. I think he let off the gas when he blinked out. He didn't want to cause any accidents. That's That's a good move on him, as he's back to 17th, blinking out again. He's going through the grass now, but he is back. Back to 18th, however, and he's going to need a caution to get back in this race, and hopefully something can figure out the connection issues. But up front, you have the 46 and the 3 going after it for the lead, with Roberg in 3rd position.
Chris Roberg, one of the few cars up here that was able to survive and win our first duel. The other 4 cars in the top 5. Oh no, not again! That looks almost exactly the same as Tate, and that hits another machine, and that should bring out a caution. I believe that was the 5 machine. Yes, it was the 5 of Hucka. That was Hubaka. Sorry, the 5 machine was the one that was caught up by Tate, who was spun around, and that looked almost exactly like the way that Tate got spun around in the first caution during our first duel.
Yeah, just the opposite end of the racetrack, this time in turn 1 and 2, and same thing pretty much. The 30 of Chris Murphy entered low, got the apron, and it just shot his car straight up the track into Christopher Tate, which unfortunately now, once again, has a pretty damaged race car.
I gotta give credit to the 17 machine, who had to whip it around both the Tate and the 5 machine to make sure that they didn't wreck it all, as that was some close action. And I was going to give credit for the 30 machine and for Tate. All 4 of the 5 were cars that had a ton of damage, but were able to make it back, as we see touching the apron is the 30 machine, and around it goes. The 35 machine, though, a lot of damage as well, as he ran into the 30.
Yeah, and throughout all of that, Chris Bass, who started first, has disconnected and pulled the car behind the wall. Connection issues, I would assume, and decided to just call it a night. Unfortunately for him, was looking pretty strong, was leading the race when he started having the issues, and here he is now out of the race. So there's still 17 cars on the racing surface. And, looking at Tate's car, it's actually not too beat up. I mean, the 3 car looked worse than that last race, and he finished really well. So, yeah, I think Tate will be okay here.
Yeah, I think the main thing for Tate is he's got to now work his way up through all the all the traffic that he just went through. 2 cars staying out, and I'm not surprised. We've seen both these cars stay out before. That's going to be Christian Roos, and then as well as Chris Newman. Both these machines have stayed out during the first duel, and going to be in 3rd coming out of the pits. It's going to be Chris Roberg, and Roberg in a very comfortable spot, but he's got 2 very hungry drivers behind him, in Takis and in Morris.
Well, Chris Roberg actually took 3rd position as being the only car to take 2 tires on that pit stop. So we have some different strategies now up front. We have the top 2 who stayed out, 3rd place on 2 tires, and everyone else on 4 tires. Not many laps were ran, so I think it's not a bad gamble if you're the 98.
Yeah, I mean, you're only on 6 lap old tires on the side that didn't change, so it's not a bad move. Gives you the track position and gets you ahead of the 2 drivers that look like were the fastest, which is Christopher Takis and Morris. And with Bass being out of this thing, that's another machine that was very quick, not having the run that he wanted, and finished 9th during our first duel, and all the way back to 18th now during this race. We'll see if he's able to connect back in the race, but it is not looking good for the 97 machine.
Yeah, the 97. I don't think it's worth even trying to reconnect at this point. You'd need a lot of cautions and still have to pass through the field, and if your connection is still maybe iffy, you're just gonna possibly run into more issues. And unfortunately, that's probably it for the 97. But he was showing some good speed, so at least he has something that he can take a positive out of. He was quick.
He was quick, and he was quick during our regular season run here at Charlotte last week. So Bass taking in the experience of the Chris Cup to duel All-Star race, and showed that he was one of the faster cars out here during duel number 2. Didn't survive. He did survive, but took some damage from duel number 1. Got 9th there. It looks like 9th in the first duel is the best that 97 is going to finish, because right now he's back in 18th. But up front, it's going to be Christian Roos. And Roos, taking a chance. He's got to be on 6-lap older tires, and it didn't work during the first duel. And I honestly don't see it working here in the second duel, but we're going to have to wait and see. As also another car that stayed out was going to be Chris Newman. Chris Newman doing the same thing, staying out. 6-lap old tires compared to everyone else. Do you see this working out? Because I honestly don't.
I think you have to get a really good start, and then maybe it didn't play off too bad until he started falling through the field, as you were able to hold the lead or second position. But once you fell to third or worse, it just becomes such a handful to try and fight the guys on fresher tires. So it's all about how well you can take off and maybe try and get away from everyone else. But the 98 being on 2 tires on the inside doesn't necessarily make him the best car either here. I really think those 4-tire guys have a little bit of an advantage and should be able to get back to the lead theoretically, but it all depends on how hard those guys maybe ran their tires, how quickly you can get around each other, and just all kinds of different things. So I think we'll find out here in a couple laps, see if who has the right pit strategy so far.
Yeah, that is going to be probably Christopher Takis, who is furthest up on the freshest of 4 tires. The pace car lights are off. We're going to be going this time by, I mean, that National Chris machine and the Stars and Stripes at 46 of Takis looking good, looking like one of the stronger cars out here, but you can never rule out the 3 machine of Christopher Morris. Does he survive the first duel? And now will he survive the second? As up front, it's going to be Christian Roos with the green flag up in the air. It's going to be 55 laps to go win duel number 2 of the Chris Cup All-Star Races.
Yeah, the 14 actually gets a really good start there with help from the inside line, kind of pushing him. Roberg trying to go low, and look who actually got ahead of it all. The 3 car is going to be the highest guy on 4 tires now. The 90 Chris Newman is quickly falling through the field, but third position goes to Christopher Morris, and Takis is right behind him. The 98 shoots to the inside, is going to be able to complete that pass pretty easily. The 3 and the 46 are going to try and follow him through, and then I think you're in trouble if you're Christian Roos.
And you're seeing Morris on the outside trying to make the pass here on Roberg, and Roberg, he's trying to hold strong, but yeah, you're seeing the 14 dropping back. Bruce with the 6-lap older tires than everyone else. It's kind of hard. I mean, you especially had the fastest 3 cars at the ready to make these moves. You had Roos, you had Takis, and Morris. Morris right now being battled by Takis, but up front is Roberg, who won duel number 1, trying to go for the duel wins, getting duel number 1 and duel number 2.
Yeah, he's trying his best. He's in the lead right there. Look who's in 4th position. Someone that wasn't even in the first duel, the 37. Here he comes, the only Toyota in the field, trying his best to get up there and challenge for the lead.
Yeah, that's going to be the Mazda, Chris Mazda, who's running that 37. And that's going to be pretty cool. Didn't make it for the first duel, made it for the second, up here in the top 5. But the passing for first is heating up, as you see Morris in the lead on the outside. But you got Roger, I mean, you got the 98 on the bottom, as well as the 46 on the bottom. Top 3 right on top of one another. The 37 is just waiting to make his move.
Yeah, the 46 is actually bump drafting the 98 down the back straightaway. Gonna let the 98 send it into turn 3. Not able to clear the 3 of Christopher Morris, and this time at the line, the 3 is gonna lead that lap. Gonna try and get clear and hopefully start driving away with the 4 tires versus the 2. But those 2 tires on Roberg are holding very well, so that's something to keep in note if you only have maybe 5 to 10 laps on your tires here on the end of the race.
Other cars making big moves. It's going to be the 24, who was blinking but able to stay in 6th place. But the 48 had some early issues, but now is up to 5th place. And I got to give credit to Leach all by himself, really trying to move up and catch up to the top 4. But he's trying to make some moves to the top 4, still right on top of one another. You could put a blanket over all 4 cars with how close they were for a second there in the tribal.
Yeah, I actually noticed entering turn 1, the 37 was to the outside of the 46, but actually lifted and let him have the spot. That makes me think the 37's not trying to race these guys too hard right now. Take care of the right front a little bit. As you can see, I'm running a little bit higher on the track. Maybe just trying to get out of that dirty air, take care of the nose of the car. And that'd be interesting to see if it pays off under a green flag run, as we are already 31 laps complete. So from this point onwards, if you pit under green, you will make it to the end. So it'll be interesting to see if any strategies start rolling out from here to the end of the race.
As Morris is in the lead, this is what we saw a lot of during our regular season Charlotte race, and Morris pulled away, had almost a 5-second gap lead on everyone else once he got up there. And Takis was the one in second who was trying to run him down, just couldn't do so. Takis now up to second after getting by Roberg, and Roberg still stuck on the high side, could be losing third to that 37.
Yeah, I think the two tires are starting to show now. They were good for those couple laps, but as all the tires come up to temperature, he is starting to fall back through the field ever so slightly. Is able to hold on to third position for now, but I do think the 37's a little bit quicker.
And then I also got Leach back in fifth, finally caught up to these top four machines, and Leach might be making a pass on the 37 of Meza, and Meza might be someone that we don't know. Could be one of the fastest cars out here, but based on the fastest laps put down so far, it's going to be Christopher Takis that has put that down. Fastest car on track at the moment, though, I believe it's also Takis.
Yeah, it's going to be so hard to tell, honestly. The lap times are constantly going to be swinging back and forth with draft, or, guys might not be 100% pushing. It'll really come after probably 10, 20 laps of green flag racing and really see who has the best car on longer runs. Short runs, though, it looks like the 3 is also pretty good there, so it might be hard to beat him. As you were saying, with the regular season 200 laps here, he pretty much dominated the event until a late wreck caught him up, I believe you were saying. Yeah. So he's good here for sure, and he's showing it again right now out in the lead and kind of keeping a good at least a half a second gap.
And then you got this battle for fifth, and all the top 5 really up here, but you're starting to see the gap from first to second. It's almost a second gap. It's pointing at seconds at the moment. But all the way back to 6, you're seeing her second pack of cars, and leading that is going to be Christian Roos and also Christopher Tate with Chris Jones that was leading that group. But now you see the 2 cars that were up front in the top 5 trying to make some moves, and Tate really trying to get back up to the front, pushing his car to the limits at the moment.
Yeah, Christian Roos didn't fall back too bad, fell back to 6th, and he's going to lose another spot or 2 right here. But it could have been much worse. He's still up there with a caution. He's still in contention, get some fresh tires with everyone else, and he's holding on not too bad right now. But if they do stay green, he's going to probably be one of the first guys to hit pit road.
Also have to give credit to Christopher Ritchie. I mean, he was involved in that last accident, able to keep that nose still straight and still going, and also Chris Murphy in 10th. They're all still trying to go. Tate's trying to make as much ground up as the second gap from 6th to 5th. But, I mean, up front, we're still seeing battles for 4th as Meza, he's still trying to hold off and trying to catch up to that 98 machine.
Yeah, Chris Roberg's held on very well so far with those 2 tires. At this point now, all the tires should be pretty much evened out for everyone amongst the top 5. So it's just going to be kind of running and holding your positions or trying to gain spots back on other people. But at this point, yeah, tires should be completely evened out, just like give or take a little bit. But I do think the 98 car should be fine from here on.
Well, just a little update on cars that are not running at the moment. That's going to be Chris Hupka in 17th, Chris Bass in 18th, and in 19th, it's going to be Christopher Reese. All 3 machines had some issues at some point. For Reese, it was that early caution that he got spun around, and for Bass, it was internet connections. Hupka accidentally clipped by Tate's accident, and that was what ruined his day as he's disconnected from the race. Although back, it's been 16 cars still running at the moment. It's going to be Chris Newman, who was one of the cars that did not pit. He's back at 16th. And if we keep on staying green, a possible chance of being a lap down.
Yeah, those tires are definitely showing their wear as he is running, about a second slower, over a second slower than the race leaders. You'll definitely lose a lap at that pace, and that's not too good if you're looking for a good finish here. But the battle for 4th is kind of heating up, Sam. We have Leach, who was falling back, and Tate closing in on him. Chris Meza was right on Roberg, but suddenly lost over half a second, and now he's kind of going to have to start defending 4th from the 48 and the 25.
I mean, it's going to be the 25 is the 48. You know, we've seen him in the first duel not being able to conserve his tires the way that he should be, and he drops back after the halfway marker of tires. We're getting close to that halfway marker. So you're going to wonder if Leach changed up anything from that first duel to the second. But Tate, he's kind of driving angry at this moment. He was up front, but he's been spun out. In the first duel and in the second duel, he had to march his way through the whole entire pack. Now up to 5th place is Christopher Tate. And now he's got Meza and that 37 machine right in front of him.
Yeah, the 25 of Christopher Tate is basically the 3rd fastest car on the track right now, given out of everyone in that top 5. So he definitely has some good speed, as he has a huge run this time. He's going to take it low on the 37. Jeez, he's flying. He's not going to be able to complete that pass unless the 37 checks up a little bit. Oh, that was close. Slides up in front. 37 looking back to the outside. Not sure if he's going to be able to get there. Not sure it'll really matter with how quick that 25 car is.
Yeah, it looks like the 25 car really has the entry for turn 1 and 2 and the exit off of 2 to really make these momentum pushes. But up front, a half a second gap between first and second. Takis not letting Morris get away just yet, but I mean, the gap is really between second and third, where we have almost a 2.5 second gap between Roberg and Takis. So it's really a 2-car horse. I mean, it's a 2-horse race up front. And it's our second duel, really different from our first. Our first duel, we had basically almost everyone wrecked out 20 laps into this race. Now we only have 3 cars out, 45 laps in. 36, about to be 35 laps left in the second duel of the Chris Cup All-Star races. And got to give up to Christopher Morris. He was looking good with a whole bunch of damaged machines in the first duel. Now he's up front with a fresh, clean machine, and he's showing how fast that 3-car can be.
Yeah, I'm definitely not surprised to see that 3-car of Christopher Morris sitting there in the lead and just being up in the top 3 in general. He had so much damage last race and was so quick still, even with, like, the car was destroyed. It was missing bumpers, everything, and he was still running top 3 speed all race long. So I'm really not surprised to see him in the lead here.
Everyone's kind of gapped out at this moment, so we're going to do a quick rundown of all the cars we got going on. Christopher Morris is going to be our leader at the moment. Then in second, it's going to be Christopher Takis, who's just a little over a half a second away from our leader. Chris Roberg in the 98. Chrissy D won our first duel, now in third, still in the money pot. In third place, top 3 gets some money, so he's liking where he's at, but he's got him being run down by the 25 machine of Christopher Tate. Tate spun out in the first duel and in the second duel, but still running fourth. This 25 machine got the pole in the first duel, didn't get to utilize it, trying to make his way up front. Chris Meza in fifth. His car was not in the first duel, but has made it into the second, showing that he should have really, he's got a fast machine in the top 5. Then we got 48 in sixth of Chris Leach. 48 machine had some good runs in the first duel, now just trying to survive here in 6th place. 30 machine of Chris Murphy. Seeing some action behind him, if you're seeing Russo and Richie behind this Chris Weiser machine of Chris Murphy. And then side by side, you got Christopher Richie as well as Christian Roos. Roos up there, finishing the top 3, our first duel. So these cars trying to push forward and finish up the top 10 is Chris Jones. In 11th place, it's the 17 machine of Chris Noblet, and the 17 machine just trying to survive as much as he can. And in 12th, it's the 7 machine of Chris Korev, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. In 13th is the 13 machine of Chris Papa and the Crisco machine. Chris Newman, who tried to be a little bit risky, staying out front during our last caution and not pitting. Might not have been the move that he wanted to do, as he is right now in 14th. And in 15th is Chris Summer. And finishing up the 16 cars that are running right now is Chris Sulk, who's running the 24. And a lot of machines trying to run up front, as it looks like we're starting to see cars coming into the pits.
Yeah, the first guy to hit pit road was the race leader, Christopher Morris. So he's going to pretty much defend that lead, be the first one on pit road, get the fresh tires, and hold that lead, try and get a little bit bigger of a gap. He was running better lap times than Christopher Takis for the time being, but you do see a couple other cars following him on pit road. Here comes Takis now, as well as Roberg and the 37 of Mesa. So a couple guys still on the racetrack. Christian Ruse is passing the 48 of Chris Leach. There was a decent gap between them, but Ruse he stayed on that last restart, and he's able to pass some of these guys that did pit on that last start. So Christian Ruse is doing really good with tire wear. He's running solid lap times, making up spots still.
Yeah, I mean, he's running decent laps on old tires, but they're not going to be good enough laps compared to the fresher ones. So fresh tires are going to outbeat Roos as Roos is coming in now. Leach staying out. And we got a couple of machines that are going to be staying out. It's Roos, some of our top machines coming into the pits, and going to have to wait and see who else is going to be coming in, as Takis just getting passed by Morris, and Morris looking strong as he's going to be still up front. But Christopher Tate, he's another machine who's looking really good and someone to watch out for that could be making a late push for Morris here if we stay green. We're still under our pit sequence, and Leach staying out once again.
Yeah, he's playing a long game. He's going to try and pit later than all these guys, get fresh tires on, and just be able to go straight out to the end as hard as he wants. Might be a smart idea for him, as we've seen him struggle with long run pace and saving tires. If you pit late enough, you don't have to save the tires, and it can sometimes work out, especially at tracks like this where once you fall off, you do fall off quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's 27 laps to go, going to be 26 once he crosses the line, and yes, he's going to be pushing as hard as he can, but he's losing time on the leaders. I don't think this is a winning move. It's more of a positional move to get himself in the best position possible to just push his car as hard as he can. It looks like after 20 laps, that 48 machine kind of drops off. But in second, it's Chris Noblet that's still running out there. These guys are running on 30-plus old tires. They can go for quite a bit. I mean, could these guys make it to the end from here?
As I was saying, with that restart, it's really, really close on fuel. They could be going for that strategy. And, you know, right now they're losing 2 seconds a lap, but in another 5-10 laps, they'll only be losing a second a lap. And we're just over 20 laps to go. It would be really, really close for Christopher Morris to catch Leach by the end of this race, especially as the tires wear for him. And if he does have to, if these other guys stay out, as actually Sommers is on pit road, but if he catches guys and have to pass around them, sure, he has fresher tires, but as his tires wear, that advantage disappears more and more, as he's almost 24 seconds behind Leach as of right now. So he pretty much has to make up a second a lap to catch him by the end of the race still.
Yeah, and these tires are going to equal out at some point once they keep on going. So, I mean, they're not going to equal out until later on with 5 laps to go. And at the pace that we are seeing from Morris and Takis, it's going to be close for these cars. As I think the one machine that I feel like really has a chance to make it to the end is actually going to be the 17 of Chris Noblet. 17 machine is about 6 seconds away from our leader. So there's quite a bit of a gap, and it's giving him even closer to Morris. So it's going to be close, but I think that's the one machine that I think can possibly make it to the end here. But it's going to be close for all the machines that are still running out there with 3 cars left, still have not pitted yet.
Yeah, Leach, interesting to note that No Bleed is also running over about half a second quicker than Christopher Leach. So is Leach trying to save? He knows he's a little bit short, but you know, they could also be just sitting here waiting for a caution, because if they get a caution, everyone's going to pit again. We saw it happen in the first race right around this lap as well, and it benefited Christopher Papa, who was the leader at the time. So, you know, he could be waiting for a caution. He could be trying to make it to the end. We really don't know until we get there.
Yeah, a lot of it's a waiting game for these top drivers until they come into the pits, but action for passes that are going on right now, a lot of action heating up for 9th place, where we're seeing Mesa being challenged by Roos, and these guys running on pretty similar lap of tires, so this is for position. Also, you've got the 37 with Christopher Ritchie that are right there. Coming to 20 laps to go once our leader crosses the line. I mean, this is when things are starting to heat up. You're kind of just putting your chips down at this point for all the cars that are still out there. I mean, we've seen cars go about 54 to 56 laps during our regular season Charlotte race. Will we be able to see it this race, though? And can we see cars go even further than that? That's what Leach is trying to do. That's what Papa's trying to do. As we're seeing the battle here with drivers trying to get by. I believe that's 8th place of Chris Jones. So they're still all wadded up back here. I mean, if there's a chance for a caution, it's going to happen back here for round 8.
Yeah, for sure. They're racing really hard. They're not even on the lead lap anymore right now. So if they're going to wreck, they need to wait till they get ahead of that 48 car. They're going to be trapped laps down. But I'm just looking through probably about the last time the 48 pit was probably about, what, lap 24. So we would only have to do, what, 56, 57 laps to the end? That's very, very close if you ask me.
It's going to be 58 laps he needs to run. So that's 2 more than what we've seen before. As you're seeing the 48 machine getting passed by all the cars that were a lap down, now getting the lap back. So you're seeing a line of machines trying to get their lap back, and that was a lot of cars. That is all the cars from about 8th all the way back to 12th. So a lot of machines getting their lap back, and now they can challenge and battle one another, and if there's a caution, they'll be on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's what they need to do. They need to get back on the lead lap, be able to stay there, and that way if something does happen, they're good to go. As pretty much everyone now is almost back on the lead lap. It's just the 24, the 7, and the 90. But the 90, yeah, the 90 did pit. So it's pretty much just the guys that haven't pit yet. But majority of the field's already back on the lead lap. More interestingly, even if he can make it on fuel, Christopher Morris is only 8 seconds behind and still running a 1.5 seconds or quicker, faster a lap. So even if he's able to make it, oh, and there's a caution.
Caution
Just
is
like
out.
That.
And it was part of the crew of cars that we were watching before, and not even surprised with how hard they were running. Looks like the 43 machine got some engine damage. So we are trying to get the replay for you to see what caused this accident to happen.
From my point of view, the 43 entered low on the 35, slid up the track a little bit, tagged him, and then I'm not sure if he was getting loose, trying to stay off of him, and oh yeah, he got loose and just hit the pit entry wall, and there's where the engine damage came from. The 35, though, I don't think has too much damage besides where he got hit, just in the left rear.
The 30 machine, though, that was a heavy hit. You gotta wonder if there's any power damage to that. I mean, this action of those 3 cars, they all happened in front of our leader, so congrats to our leader survived. That was a scary moment for our leader for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't too far ahead of him for sure. The 30 car actually, the 30 car had a really big hit there of Chris Murphy, and he lost the hood right on impact. So that car is definitely going to be slow. It's going to have engine damage. I don't see how you get away from that one without it. But, the top 2 guys, Chris Nobly in second and Chris Leach in the lead, really, it worked out for him. They're able to come down pit road, and the 48 has not been that good on longer runs, but we're only going to have maybe 11 or 12 laps to go on the restart. You can pretty much just run the car flat out from there, not have to worry about saving your right front. So this could have been the best thing for the 48 car.
And it looks like the 37, I mean, it's an all-star race. You might as well risk it. Not pitting, staying out. 14-lap old tires compared to everyone else. The next cars that have with fresher tires is going to be that 48. But the 17 car had one of the late, slowest pit stops compared to everyone else. Losing positions, falling all the way back to 5th. And out of all the cars came in, 4th on the running of that. But that gives Christopher Morris first car on the the second car on the inside, 3rd place. So he's feeling good, and on the outside of him, it's going to be Christopher Takis.
It's interestingly on that leaving pit road, Takis pulled the brake to allow the who did he allow in front of him? He allowed someone to get past him leaving pit road. Just gonna go back and watch that.
I mean, if he was letting anyone by in front of him, would be Morris. So
yeah, it was Morris. He let Morris get by him. So I think he wanted to start in that in that lower line behind the race leader.
Well, he's going to be starting fourth, so Takis would be on the outside, and he'll be on the outside with Chris Leach, and those are the machines that are going to have the freshest tires. If you stay on the bottom, where Morris is going to be, he's got Meza, who stayed out 15-lap-old tires, 14-lap compared to everyone else. So the older tires on the inside, it might have been a tactical move by Takis.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he would have done that if the 37 didn't stay out, as the inside on the restart is very strong. But with the 37 staying out, especially on those worn tires, it's really going to trap the 3 car behind him on entry unless he takes it 3 wide. But if he doesn't, the outside's going to be rolling for the 48 and the 46.
Well, we're going to be going green with less than 15 laps to go. It's kind of a go now and wait later type of a thing. You're not going to be giving anyone any space. We've been seeing a lot of cars being spun out here in the first duel and in the second duel. The second duel has been a lot cleaner of a race so far. Yes, we're on caution number 3, but the first duel, we had 2 big ones within the first 20 laps that took out almost 80% of the field, or 80% of the field had damage of some sorts. So now it's been a lot more of a racy type of a field, getting to see some of the guys that were fast but weren't able to show it in the first duel, showing it now with Morris and Takis.
Yeah, really interested to see how this 37 does. I don't actually expect too much with the amount of laps he has on the tires. I think he's just maybe hoping to get away, get a caution, and everyone pits again or something, but the lap difference of 15 laps or more on those tires, he's going to drop like a rock here, and it's really just going to be, hopefully he doesn't get wrecked with the closing distance differences on the rest of these guys on tires.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is you're hoping that you don't cause a wreck or you aren't the wreck for the 37, and we'll just have to wait and see as the drivers are getting ready to go this time.
Yeah, not too many laps to go at all. But yeah, this 37 car, the race leader gets to control the start. That's going to help him at least a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see what happens once we get to turn 1.
It's going to be 12 laps to go when we go green, and it's going to be a fun 12 laps to finish this thing out. First race was really fun to watch. We got to see the 98 win that thing, but the 98 all the way back in 7th place as Chris Roberg. But up front, you got the 37, who wasn't here for the first duel, makes his first All-Star appearance. In the second duel is Meza, and then you got the 48, who's been up front in the top 5 in the first duel, and also here in the second. Space car is getting ready to pull off. I mean, the fastest 2 cars in that second row of the 3 machine and the 25. We'll see who is going to get it done. Also the 46. I mean, those are really fast machines all there as the green flag is out.
Yeah, 37 gets going, but the 48 with the fresh tires are going to be to his outside. Look at Christopher Morris trying to get low, just nowhere for him to go. 37, I don't think is going to be able to hold it full throttle. The 48 kind of got loose mid-corner, had to check up the track. That leaves it wide open. Here comes the 3 actually to the bottom. I really thought the top was going to be strong for them, but instead it's hindering the 48 as the 3 and 46 are able to get to the bottom line and pass the 37 car.
48 in the wall.
48 in the wall, yep. Here comes the 46 and the 25. So if you're the 48 now, it didn't work out, unfortunately for you. But Christopher Morris to the lead over Takis and Christopher Tate.
Yeah, I mean, these top 3 cars were the fastest cars during qualifying in the first section, the first duel. They got taken out early, and now it's their redemption time. They are trying to put on a show here, coming to 10 laps to go once they cross the line. And you also got to thank the guy in 5th, that 98 machine of Roberg. He won the first duel. He's going to try to make a hunt here with 10 laps to go. He's running out of time to get here and battle it out with the top 3. As it looks at the 48 machine of Leach, he's found some speed after getting back down to the low side. He's now right on the back bumper of Tate.
Yeah, they're going after it right now in that top 4. You're going to have 2 separate little battles right now. You have the 46 trying to size up the 3, and you have the 48 and 25 going after each other for 3rd position. That final payout position tonight. But, yeah, those top 3 guys have been top 3 speed pretty much all night long, so I'm not surprised to see them up here. But, you know, laps are quickly closing down if you want to try and make a run at this thing for the win.
It was Morris and Takis during the regular season here at Charlotte, and now for the All-Star race. The second race, the second duel. It's between the two cars that have been the fastest during the second duel, and that's Morris and Takis. They showed pace last week. They're showing it again as they're still battling one another, but the battle for third still heating up with Tate trying to hold off the 48 machine of Leach.
Yeah, look at that battle for third. They're side by side now, almost side by side for the lead as well. The 3's going on the defensive as well as the 25. They're all just trying to hold on to their spots, try and get to the end of the race in that top 3. But the 46 is not going to let Christopher Morris just walk away with this one as he's trying to size him up, maybe get low into 1, not able to do it, backs off. He's just got to build a run somewhere. He just needs that one time to get a good run to get his nose somewhere.
And the car back in 6th place right now is Christian Roos, who finished in the top 3 in our first duel. I mean, that 14 machine making a late run and showing that he's going to be up here with the front pack. But, you know, the car is back from third on back. They're losing traction to the cars that are up front. And that's Takis and Morris. 7 laps to go in that 3 machine. And that Chris Wrench machine going up against the National Chris car. And this is the Chris Cup. This is the All-Star race. We've done our first duel. This is the end of the second duel. We're going to be coming to 5 laps to go. Who's going to get it done? Is it going to be the 3, the 46, or will we see a late caution to bring out another chance for a different driver?
Yeah, if we see a quick caution here at the end, I think someone was just spinning towards the back half of this top 5.
Now, if it's going to be a car, it would be Meza, who's dropped back. He's dropped all the way back to 9th now.
Oh, it was Christian Roos. He's gone, Sam. Christian Roos did spin out off of 4 through the grass, so no caution for it. Didn't hit anything, I don't think, but he did actually hit the pit wall. But that's an end to the 14 cars night.
And we were I was just praising him about getting up to 6th and getting the back bumper and spins it out there. I mean, with that spin out, it does cause the cars that are from third on back to drift back just a little bit. But still, the action is up front with the front 2 cars, the 3 and the 46. Got to give it up here from Morris and Takis. As you see Tate trying to inch his way back into this thing, but he is so far back. He's about a second. He's 1.2 seconds back from second place. So he is way too far back as we're coming to 3 laps to go.
The 46 just got the wall off of turn 4, I think, or was it the 3? Nope, it was the 46. Just a little kiss, though, of the right rear. No damage done for that one. He's good to go. 3 laps to go. I think that really shows how hard they're pushing for this race win. But, we're coming to 2 laps to go. He's still close enough as well to make a last lap lunge if he really wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, he's still close enough. We're going to be coming to 2 laps to go, coming off of 4. I mean, these drivers, they have been waiting. They had to wait all of the first duel to finally have a fresh car, to have a chance. I mean, Takis taken out early in the first duel. And then he had Morris, who had a complete damaged car and wasn't able to pursue for a win, but still was battling up front in the top 5. Morris and Takis, clean cars, clean machines, and all they could see is green up front as they're coming around 3 and 4. They're coming to the white flag. Who's going to get it done? As it's Morris and Takis.
Yeah, coming to the white flag off of turn 4. They're still really close together, still close enough where if any little mistake, it's going to benefit the other driver. But, turn 1 and 2, you can't really do much. Turn 3 and 4, though, there's a little bit more off-throttle time. Will the 46 drive in there? Maybe try and get him loose. It looks like he actually lost ground off of 2. I don't think that's going to help him. Morris just blinks out really quick. Oh, that could be really bad. But Morris, actually, he opened up the gap, so he's going to come away off of turn 4, and he's going to win race number 2.
Morris gets the second duel won here at the Chris Cup All-Star Races for 2020. I mean, Morris, he looked like the dominant car during the regular season, wasn't able to get the win there, almost got it done during duel number 1, but finally gets the win here at Charlotte in duel number 2 against Takis. That 3 machine and the Chris Wrench all black 3 machine got it done. And what a run for Morris.
Yeah, I really think Takis was giving it everything he had. I'm just trying to see what happened. Yeah, he got really tight off of turn 2, had to lift, and ended up falling to a second behind Christopher Morris after literally being within 2/10 for the last 10 laps. And, just really good racing, though, to the end of the race. A lot cleaner of a race than the first one, but, just as good, just as just as much strategy, as much fun, and Christopher Morris, not surprised. He had probably, if he didn't have damage the first race, probably the fastest car in that race as well, honestly, as he still was able to finish top 3 or 4. And, here he is with a clean car and taking away the win.
It was all about staying clean, consistent, and just being the fastest car, as we're seeing Morris do a Polish lap here for the empty arena. But giving it out, we're going to look at the results here for the race win of the second duel. Christopher Morris gets it done in first. Christopher Takis, Christopher Tate. It was all Christophers in the top 3 this time. Chris Roberg gets fourth. He almost got there back in the top 3 in that 98 machine, just wasn't able to get it done. Leach in fifth. Noblit 6. Jones, thank you, Jones, for all these amazing schemes. They are so much fun to look at and just to commentate over. Christopher Papa and Chris Skalik and Meza in 10th. And then going to be looking back in 11th is going to be Chris Newman, Roos, the 7 car of Corvo, and then Richie, Murphy, Sommer, Reese, Hubbuck, and Bass were your final cars. What a fun race to watch. Now we're going to take a look if we can bring in some cars for interviews. Bronson not able to help me with the interviews today. I'm going to be doing it all by myself, and that is totally fine as we're waiting to see which drivers are waiting to come in as the drivers are coming through. I mean, this was such a surprising race for us to watch. Gotta give it up to Morris, who got it done. Finally, after 3 tries, there was nothing else for the 6 to do except for to burn it down. And a fantastic run by Morris as we're still waiting for drivers to come in. And it looks like we have second place in the waiting room as well as our third. We're going to be bringing in third place finisher Tate here in a quick second. As we are pulling him in, this is third place finisher Christopher Tate. Christopher, it's Sam at the booth. How are you doing after that race?
Pretty good. Wish I could have got 2 spots more, but I'm happy with where I finished.
I mean, it was a rough first duel race, got taken out and almost taken out the same exact way in the second duel, but you really put in a lot of effort getting through the field. I mean, it seemed like you had one of the fastest cars out here. I know you didn't get the place you wanted, but how was it passing through all that all that traffic, I should say?
It was definitely sketchy, and I think I could have had something for Morse, but from the wreck, I was down 15 RPM, so I was just trying to get all I could.
I mean, that's just impressive in the fact that you were down and still being able to put down the lap times you were. I mean, if you just all of the time that we've been seeing here at Charlotte, I mean, this is kind of the third race we've got to see. Was there anything you were able to take from all the 2 tracks all the 2 races that we had previously?
Just to stay out of trouble. I've gotten in wrecks in every single one.
Well, Christopher, I know it wasn't the position you wanted to finish in, but we're going to give you the floor to give some shout-outs with your top 3 finish.
I'd like to thank you guys for putting on the great broadcast, Chris Jones for setting this all up, and Grit Motorsports for helping me out in the real world, and I think that's about it.
And that's Christopher Tate with a third place finish. I mean, yes, it wasn't where you wanted to be, but you really put on a show for us to watch as you were cutting through the field.
All right, thank y'all.
Next driver we have is going to be Christopher Takis as we are about to move him in. I want to give a good shout out to Chris Jones once again for setting this all up. It was an honor for us to be on board to broadcast this as we're having some technical issues on my end, but we'll get that figured out. But yeah, Chris Jones, thank you so much for setting this all up as we are moving in to get our second place finisher, Christopher Takis. And moving on through, we're trying to figure out where he is. There's Takis. And we're going to be moving him into the booth. Christopher, how did you get up to second with all the traffic you had to go through, and how was that race for you?
At the start of that race, I just had the mindset I got to get to the front so I'm ahead of all the guys that could possibly cause wrecks. So those first couple laps, I was just in attack mode. I didn't really care about tires. Because after that first duel, getting caught up in 2 wrecks there, at that point, I realized I need to be at the front.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in the first duel, it was a lot of cars taken out early in that race. I know that there wasn't much to take away from that race, but was there anything to take away from that race, or really was it from the regular season Charlotte race where you took some information from there?
It was the first race from Charlotte, the main regular season race. Learned a lot about lines and how to save tires. And I've been running the fixed races that iRacing puts on for the official race to kind of get some track time through the week. But the biggest thing from that first duel was once I was taken out in the motor through the rod there, I just basically watched kind of the top 5 and seen what lines they were taking and how I could best strategize for this next duel, how to overtake them, sort of deal.
I mean, Morris kind of was the fastest guy out there, and he was putting on a show. But was there anything you really had for that 3 machine at the end?
I knew going into this race that he's a really tough competitor. I've been in official races with him that outside of the league, and he's kicked my butt in those too. So I knew that I just had to kind of stick with him. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but before that first pit stop run, I kind of just held my half-second pace behind him because I knew I wasn't going to catch him. So there's no point in me burning my tires up. And then we went in for that pit stop, and he had a hell of a pit stop. I think he gained like 2 or 2.5 seconds on me. And then kind of at the end there, I just gave it all it had. And that last corner, I knew I needed to pretty much send it in there. So I ended up getting a little tight, and I just backed out of it so I didn't get into the wall. I knew I had a little buffer behind me, so I just kind of rolled with it from there and accepted my second place.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a great run on your part, able to survive. I think that was really the word to take from that first duel to the second was just try to survive and make it to the end, and you did so with the second place. Well, now we're going to give the floor off to you for any shout-outs that you have.
First off, I'd like to thank you guys for doing a hell of a broadcast. It's awesome to be able to see all of us on the big screen and get our names out there. Chris Jones for putting this whole league on. He does more work than anyone can imagine to make this possible. And then just the sponsors, National Chris, Top End Graphics, Performance Mobile Marine, all the crew at Takis Motorsports, boys at the shop, Ryden's Gas for getting us that fresh fuel for the weekend, SeaTac Photo and Design, and just everyone in the league for great racing. This is probably the best race I've had in a while.
That's Christopher Takis finishing second in the second duel of the All-Star races. Have a great rest of your night, man.
You guys as well.
And now we're going to be pulling in our race winner, Christopher Morris, who got it done, and we'll hear from him on how he got it done. Christopher, it's Sam from the FRN booth. How are you doing after that race win?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
I mean, that was a fun race to watch. It was good to see you be able to survive and not be taken out. I mean, that was the one thing we saw during that first run was you being taken out and having to really work your way with the damaged vehicle. How was it just having a fresher car and not have to worry about damaged car all around you?
Well, having all the horsepower was a lot better. I'll tell you that. I mean, I don't know what happened with the first wreck in the first duel there at the beginning, but we missed it, and somehow I didn't hit the inside pit wall, but my spotter, Chad, was like, no, the rear end's knocked off it. So I got it fixed, and it was still running good, and then when we were on the outside, we got taken out by the 43, and we ended up 40 horsepower down the rest of the race, but they were going slow enough in the corners for me to make up what I was losing on the straightaways. But yeah, once we started the second race and we had a clean car, man, it was a ball game.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like you were the fastest car in both the first duel and the second. I mean, I think the only cars that could touch you was Takis and Tate, and they ran second and third during this race. Was there at any point during this race you kind of felt I might not have this with all the cars trying different strategies and stuff?
Yeah, man. With about 20 to go, I think I had about a half a second lead on Takis, and he's fast, man. He's only been on here for I think a little over a month now, month and a half or something like that. You give that guy 6 months, and I'm not going to be able to keep up with him. I mean, he's got a lot of raw talent. But I was trying to keep him at like half a second so I didn't burn my tires off, and my team, we decided we were going to come down pit road, be the first ones to come down. I think I gained like 2.5 seconds there. I don't know if he slid the tires coming onto pit road or what it was. And then when the caution came out, I thought for sure that he was going to have the better car on the short run because we didn't have as much speed tonight as we did last Saturday in the regular season race. We weren't able to really dictate it nearly as much. It was hard getting up to the lead tonight.
Yeah, no, Takis was also surprised on your pit stop. I think it was just how fast you entered and came out on why you got that 2-second gap. And overall, I mean, coming to the end of these races, I mean, you finally got the win. It took you 3 tries. You finally got it done. How does that feeling of taking all the experience from those last 2 races and getting the race won here?
Feels awesome, man. I mean, I made the mistake of not coming down pit road in the 600 or the 300 last week, and we ended up back in traffic. And then I guess it was net code between me and the 99. I think it was. It took me out of that one. It's kind of the same deal as what happened with the 43, where you just slid up the track. So, I mean, I tried not to push it nearly as much until that last restart there that we had. But until then, I just tried to not run fast laps, not really push the car too much, try to stay clean. If there wasn't any point in trying to pass the car yet, I would just wait, let them wear their tires off. I think I chased Bass around the first 14, 15 laps of the second duel just because I didn't want to go underneath him. I didn't want another wrecked race car.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair for you. And that's Christopher Morris. We're going to give the floor off to you, and so you can do all your shout outs.
Yeah, man, just shout out to Chris Jones. I mean, he invited me in here. I didn't know what I was getting into, but it's a lot of fun. It's a cool little theme. He puts a lot of work into it. I don't think I've ever seen somebody that's not getting paid to run a league put as much effort as he does into just, I mean, he does all the paint schemes. I think like 95% of them are what he does on his spare time. He's got the Facebook group running. He's got the Discord running. He's got the broadcast, which you guys do a fantastic job. And I hadn't heard of you until the Coke 600. I couldn't believe it, man. I've been listening to this one all night. It's very entertaining, and I'm in the race.
I'm glad you're entertained by us. We're trying to put on, I mean, really, it's you guys putting on the show. We just get to talk over the amazing action that you give us. So thank you for putting on the show.
Before I forget, shout out to my spotter, Chad Wilson. I'm hoping I can get him in the field with us next week. He's not a crisp, but he's fast. So we're going to try to get, I think we're going to Watkins Glen. We're going to try to get him into that one. Hopefully he'll stick around. But
yeah, I mean,
he did a great job.
All Chris's and non-Chris's are always welcome in the Chris Cup. And once again, this is Chris Morris. Got the win in the second duel, running the 3 Goodwrench car today. Usually running the 6 machine during the regular season. Congratulations on the win there, Christopher, and have a great rest of your night.
Hey, thanks, man. Great job tonight. Have a good one.
And that's your top 3 for the race, and it was a good race to watch both. I mean, we got a ton of action. The first duel, we got to see wrecks right off the bat with the big ones going on in the first 20 laps. And then the second duel, we got to see some racing from top to bottom, seeing the fastest cars making it up front. It was Christopher Morris that got it done in the second duel, and it was Chris Roberg that got it done in this first duel. It was a fun race to watch, a fun race to broadcast. For myself, Sam Dyer, and for Bronson Stafford that was here with me tonight, I want to say thank you for watching another action of the FRN broadcast, and we'll see you guys in the next Chris Cup action. I believe that's next, not this upcoming Saturday, but the Saturday after that for Watkins Glen. Have a great rest of your night, and goodbye.